What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Gray Matters podcast. I'm your host, Josh Perry.
And I'm your other host, Jackie Lauricella.
And today we have an amazing guest. I feel like I always say amazing guest, but they're always amazing. But it's our good friend, Brian Guilmette. Brian and I met about 3 years ago at Athletic Lab when he was coaching there as one of the strength and conditioning coaches. And long story short, we got to talking and connecting over content and Gary Vee and learning that Brian is really talented in the graphic world and he's really creative and passionate about it. And we're going to dive into all that is Brian and how he came here today. But we want to say thank you for all that you do for us, with us, and for coming on the Gray Matters podcast to talk with Jackie and I. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. I have pancake batter on my
hands. How's my hair?
Oh, nice.
Your hair looks great.
Looking a little long.
I think we're all kind of messed right now.
Yeah, so Jackie made keto pancakes this morning, and she didn't let me lick the batter out of the empty bowl, so therefore she got some on her hands.
I thought you were going to say she didn't let me lick the batter off of her hands.
Yeah, she's an animal. So we're off to a great start today. It's, about 2:30 Sunday afternoon, East Coast time, and we had a late brunch and just wanted to dive into some, I guess, deeper conversations today, and we thought it'd be really fitting with Brian's background, his perspective on the topic, and all the things that we are doing together as a team to help all of you. And yeah, just really welcome Brian to all of you. And so I don't know where to start. Like, we could start
I want to just
start at Athletic Lab and then go back.
Should for sure, but I mean, we've got a lot of things on the table. We're going to talk about disordered eating. We're going to talk about weight loss. We're going to talk about keto. We're going to talk about
mindset,
not keto diets. We're going to talk about everything. So
aliens.
Mostly, we're going to stop talking and we're going to let Brian talk. So that's exciting.
Yeah. So Ready? Where do you want to start, Brian?
Go.
Where are you from?
I grew up in New York, Westchester County, so 40 minutes outside of the city. And was there till about 18, and then I moved to Boston to go to music school.
Which music school?
Berklee College of Music.
Yeah, I just think that's important to mention.
So prestigious.
Yes, it's very.
That's what they say.
How'd that go?
That's what people tell me.
It was probably the best thing I ever did. It was the only. Well, I wouldn't say it's the only school I applied to, but it was the only school I cared about. I think I only applied to one or two other ones. But that was the only place I wanted to go.
I did the same thing when I applied to college. I applied to 2, and people were like, "Are you worried?" And I was like, "No." That's where I want to go.
In hindsight, I think music school was kind of I didn't want to do regular school, but I loved playing music, so I was like, I'll just go to music school, and then it'll be I'm going to college. But
that's how I thought about technical high school, but it wasn't about so much loving what I was doing in school. It was more so I loved making extra money.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to go to school as much, so that's interesting. Did you always have that desire to go there, or is that later as you grew up?
No, I didn't start playing guitar until my freshman year of high school. I was into sports growing up, and I was playing hockey for the high school team at the time that I started playing guitar and getting into bands. And then I just kind of was I like playing in a band better than sports. I don't know if it was because I was better. I don't think I was terrible at sports. No, I think I was pretty good at sports. I was good at hockey, and I had a good mindset for the sport of hockey. But I was slow, and I was always up and down with weight problems.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I just felt less athletic than I was, but I was definitely slow, and there was nothing in high school to get me in better shape or anything. So
hockey seems so intense. I feel there's so much multitasking in it, because not only are you ice skating, you're also being athletic and you're worried about someone hitting you.
Yes.
I feel there's a lot of things going. And that little black thing that just slips around all over the place. That's just a lot.
How long did you play hockey for?
I started roller hockey when I was
that
super
seems less
young.
cool.
I used to play roller hockey with my dad.
Yeah.
I didn't ever play real hockey or football. I just played flag football.
Yeah.
And then, or whatever it was, touch maybe. Mm-hmm. But then roller hockey with my dad just for fun.
It's diet hockey.
Yeah, we used to play literal street hockey. We'd be in the middle of the street and losing the puck or ball down the sewer all the time. Like,
that's sweet.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But then I got into ice hockey, I think, middle school, and that's when like I really liked ice hockey. It felt like real. Like roller hockey didn't feel real.
Yeah.
You know.
That's the point I was trying to make.
It's like wearing gloves at the gym.
About like diet hockey. Like,
oh yeah.
Then you got ice hockey, and then you were like, yeah.
Yeah, ice hockey like feels like just more legit. Like you're actually playing hockey. But yeah, and then I just shifted like away from that. I think my senior year is when I decided I want to go to music school. So I knew what I had to do to get into music school, and a lot of that was like I had to take guitar lessons like more seriously. So I didn't hire, I guess, but I got a teacher that was like a jazz guitarist because I knew Berkeley was like a big jazz school. And then I joined jazz band, and I took I had already taken a couple of music theory classes, but I made sure I took like all the music theory classes. So I really just did whatever I could in that moment, and I would like hang out in the music room with the jazz band teacher all the time to make sure I got like good reference and all that. And then I got in. It was easier to get in at that time in a sense, like you didn't have to audition. So like my actual playing skill it wasn't judged, but like obviously for me to get references or have good grades at this or you know, whatever, I still had to be able to play. Like it's not like skill wasn't involved, but they
did you
didn't
have to like send in a tape or like?
No, I actually did send in a tape. Like so at that time, if you sent in a tape, you could possibly get a scholarship. Like that was how you got a scholarship.
Yeah.
And my buddy Eric, he was like my best friend at the time, and he was in my bands with me, like every band with me. He got a scholarship. Him and I both went to Berkeley.
Oh, that's really
we roomed together the first year. Yeah.
Like, and you guys went to the same high school and everything?
Yeah, same high school. I dated his sister in high school.
That's crazy. You're not supposed to do that to your friends.
Yeah.
It did. The first year it did cause a problem because then we're like in a dorm the whole time, and then we go home and I'm at his house all the time. And he really did
get away from
he
me.
really did feel that. Like it definitely put a tension in our friendship. Like he didn't care I was dating his sister until I was just always around him.
There.
He just needed a break from me. So,
did Brian ask you if you had any sisters?
Do you got any sisters?
No.
No sisters.
It's too bad. I was coming for him. So Berkeley. Berkeley was. It really was like I don't even know how to like encapsulate what it did for my life, because of, you know, when you say like everything happens for a reason, and like that was like the epitome of that. Like
right.
I met somebody through Eric who ended up I had joined their band, and then their band played with like all other local bands, and so I was meeting all these people, and I met this kid Horse. His name's Dave Horseman, but everybody called him Horse.
Of course.
And he was just a super outgoing guy, and I'm not outgoing. Like I'm super introverted. I usually don't take the first step in a friendship.
Yeah.
And he would always just invite me along places, and then one night he's like, we're playing a show, and wherever we were playing, like, come with us. So I just hopped in the van with them. They played a show, and then we went back to their like manager's house, Sean, in Woburn, and they just had this like huge party, and it was a no pants party. It turned into a no pants party. So John Muse, the first time I met him, okay, I'm actually going. He's one of the dudes I'm going with to Austin in a couple weeks. He walks into the party. And somebody says, like, literally within, like, 5 seconds of him getting there, someone's like, should we make this a no-pants party? And he just, like, ripped his belt off and was like, yep. And so, like, everybody just did it. And that was, like, my first experience with all those people. But that party, I met, like, so many people that I became, like, best friends with.
That's awesome.
I can't say I've been to a no-pants party. But I've been to, like, an ABC party.
It's
like,
pretty
anything
sweet.
but clothes party. Where you, like, dress yourself with, like... garbage and like random things.
Yeah, they used to. I never went to one.
Yeah. Well, it's not just like garbage. It's like, but you make like a dress out of saran wrap.
Not too many people use garbage.
Yeah, I haven't been to this one, but they used to have parties all the time where it was like you couldn't drink out of anything that was like meant to drink out of. So like people had like a bedpan or like a boot or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, where was I going with that? So that was so I met all my best friends basically at that party, and then I spent like those were like my party years, I guess you could say, is because I was there all the time. I mean, almost like every night of the week. Like I would go, we would party. I'd wake up at like 6 a.m. and drive all the way back to Boston to Guitar Center because that's where I was working. Like,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'd always get like super drunk and pass out on Sean's couch. It was like this green and white striped couch, and I would always do this thing when I was like in that mode, that phase of like drinking and whatever. I always made sure I had like some stupid thing that I would do at a party. I don't know what it was, but that house particular, I would like couch dive. So I would just like walk over to the couch and I'd just like dive onto the couch, and that's when everyone knew I was like done for the night. But it became
in the middle of a conversation, just go like.
But everyone knew it as like my couch. So then I used to like joke around, and of course I thought this was like gonna get me chicks, but no chicks wanted this. But I would be like, this is my couch. Like, any of you dudes get on the couch, I'll kick you in the fucking balls. But if the ladies wanna get on the couch, that's totally fine. Like, trying to be all like that. One day, this big dude, like, I don't know where he was from, but definitely like in the rougher part of Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
Big dude sitting like passed out on the couch like this. And I'm like, oh shit! Like, I've been talking shit for so long.
You gotta kick him in the balls.
So I go up to him like, hey man, you know this is my couch. Like, I gotta kick you in the balls. And he goes, whoosh, and flips open a knife. And I was like, oh, all right. I mean, he wasn't gonna do anything, but he was like playing along with it.
Yeah.
But like, it was pretty jarring. But anyway, like that was my couch. But I did all stupid things like at parties, like just trying to have something. I always wanted to like do something ridiculous.
Yeah, of course.
That wasn't just typical stuff. Like,
yeah.
You know, like
I would love to see drunk Brian.
I would like one party. I was condescending Brian Man. They used to call me Brian Man because like Anchorman came out around the time.
Condescending Brian Man.
Yeah, and I would just say condescending things to people. Like I was joking, but like
just like really.
Yeah.
That's the drink that you want.
Oh. That haircut, yeah, I see what you were going with there, or something like that. And I would just like go up to people and say that.
That's perfect.
So I would just try to have a theme in every party. But yeah, I met like all my best friends there. I went in and out of bands like through them, and like my best friend of all time, Dan, who will also be there in Austin. He went to my high school, and then he ended up going to Berkeley. He's 2 years younger than me, and then we ended up like meeting up at a party, and I had like traveled back home to play and just jam with him and some other friends from high school. So we'd met like a couple times, but then he ended up coming to Berkeley and he joined a band. Was I telling you about the all girl or no, the female fronted? So Lucy Grace. So it was a female fronted like indie band that he joined as a drummer, and I wasn't too happy with my situation. Mostly, I think because like at the time I had joined that band, and I don't think it was kind of like a fabricated Berkeley band almost. And I was used to like in high school, it's all your best friends and you're just playing like. So I didn't feel that connection. Yeah. So when Dan was in that other band and I connected with Dan, I was like, I think I'd have way more fun playing with them.
Yeah,
So
it'd be a better experience.
Yeah, so I joined that band, and Dan and I just like became like best friends, like. And we ended up quitting that band because the band was crazy. The people in the band were crazy. I told you some stories. But I won't tell the stories, but it involved like begging for sex and being in a bathtub with hot water being poured on them.
Too loose.
Yeah just a lot of crazy shit in that band. So we got out of that band. It just wasn't like a good situation. And then that was really, I think that was the last band I was really in. Like me and him, like we started other things, but we never like played shows or anything. So, and then right around that time, like I'm fast forwarding a lot, but that was like 2008, I think, was when all that went down. And then just a year after that is when I moved to North Carolina.
Can I ask you a question? Because we are going to touch on it. During like that part of your life, were you like fit and in shape?
No. So very interesting.
It seems like a really shallow question.
No.
But it applies, I promise.
My first band that I had joined at Berkeley, that first band, they were, at that time, that was when I got to like my turnaround point.
Yeah.
Like my rock bottom, I guess you could say, or like my heaviest. It was like one of the summers. So what I did was I joined that band like during a summer, but I was back in New York.
Yeah.
So what I did was I went to live with my grandma in Cape Cod because my family's always had a house there, but they had just bought a house there. So I had a place where I could stay. So I stayed there, commuted to Boston to play in that band. And it was just like if I wasn't in Boston, I was just like lazy as hell. Like just sitting on my grandma's couch, like she would buy me whatever I wanted. I love fried clams. It's like one of my favorite foods. I probably ate that like every day. There was like, Giordano's pizza or something, Giordano's pizza or something, like Tasty Towers, like what it's also called. It's right in Hyannis.
I don't remember.
It's amazing pizza. Like I got huge that first summer. And I just remember my cousins had come to stay, and so a lot of pictures were taken, which I've been trying to find for years, trying to find pictures from this vacation, because that was the turnaround point. Yeah. I just remember seeing pictures, and I was like, holy shit. Like I always knew I was, like, chubby, and then people would always describe me as, like, solid, like... Mm-hmm. But I always kind of knew, like, yeah, I'm bullshit, I'm solid, But I never thought I looked like, like I needed to do something about it, but seeing that, I was like, wow, you are like out of control. I think I was like 265 pounds, which at 5'6", being a sedentary person, if you go just by the BMI scale, that's like category 3 obese. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I do think I carry a lot of weight, like, in my hips and legs and stuff, so yeah. I still don't think, like, society's like, vision of what obese means, I think is different than how it's categorized in that Absolutely. Scale, obviously. Like, you think of, like, a 600-pound person or something when you think of, like, category 3 obese.
Right.
Know? So I certainly didn't look like that, but I was huge.
I was like 135 pounds and 5'4" in high school, and I was like overweight on that scale. You know
right?
What I mean?
But you were an athlete. Right. I was just a dude who'd sit around and go play music, like and drink a lot
and couch dive.
Right, and couch dive.
Right.
Surprised the couch held up.
Yeah. I'm surprised you could dive. Like right. You could just make the dive.
Might have just fallen.
Yeah, it could have been more like couch falling.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was my turning point, and we'll get to that when we talk about like psychology of it and everything, because I have more to say about it being my point. But
yeah,
that was also, my parents had come to visit, and that was their turning point too. They were always like really supportive and would never like make me feel like I needed to, get in shape or something like that. But I guess, like, after the fact, my dad had said, like, he just was, like, super worried. So my mom left early, and he stuck around, and he didn't, like, just say it outward. And we would always be open about, like, exercising and stuff, because he'd always been doing it and showing me things my whole life about exercising. But it was always just, like, teaching and having fun with it, and never, like, not life or death, but, like, life or serious problems type of thing.
It's just a life skill that he was teaching you.
Yeah, exactly. So he stuck around and was kind of just like, hey, we should, the trail's great. Like, I ride the trail, like, every time I come here. It goes all the way up the Cape. It's really beautiful. Like, we should ride bikes. You want to ride bikes? And I was like, yeah, like, I want to ride bikes. And he would do 40 or 50 miles. Like, he would go, I think, like 22 miles out to whatever beach that ended up being, and then turn around. So he's like, we'll just take it slow or whatever. I think the first day we did like 12 miles total. And I don't know if he spent a week or 2 weeks there or something, but he just wanted to get me like kind of used to it and into it.
Like moving, yeah.
And I loved it. Like, And when he left, like, I just continued to do it. And I ended up, like, that summer, for like 2 months, I guess, I was just like almost every day that I wasn't just completely sore or beat, I would ride 30 miles a day. I didn't change anything else. Maybe the next summer I was eating better, or maybe that summer I was starting to eat a little bit better, but I think I just dove hardcore into biking, and it was more of a challenge for me because I had the little like odometer on it, and I loved like every day, like, can I just, if I just go 1 mile more, that's 2 miles more, you know? And I'm like, and I just kept trying to see how far I could go. And then I would also love getting back and seeing, like, it would say, even if it wasn't accurate, it'd say like 1,500 calories burned. And I'm like, sick, I can go slam a pizza. You know, like, it felt like, holy shit, like I really did a lot of work.
Was that helping you physically?
Oh yeah. I dropped probably, I want to say 35 pounds, 30 to 35 that summer.
Nice.
Because I did like a 50-pound block, but some of it carried over into Boston when I got, because after the summer it ended, I moved into an apartment, and I had dropped out of Berkeley at that point, but my buddies were still at a place, and so I decided just to live there because I was still in the band. And then I would ride, like, I took the Charles River, and I made like a figure 8 out of it, like going over the what the hell's the bridge that's Mass Ave that goes over the Charles. Anyway, I did like a figure 8, and I would do it two laps and get 25 miles out of it. So I continued that until basically it got too cold, and that's where things kind of changed for me. But I lost like 50 pounds from that summer into that first fall, and it was crazy. Like, that was the most weight I've ever lost in my life, and that was actually, so that was really when I got back, though, that was really the time when I started to hang out with those people. So that was my first kind of taste of what we've talked about before, where I was kind of like I had a different identity, kind of, you know, like I felt like a different person. But I still knew I had like more weight to lose, so it still didn't completely click with me that like I was a different person. But I met a lot of people when I had just lost 50 pounds, and I think that really helped with my confidence to like be around. I think if I was still 265 pounds and there was a no pants party that I was at, I probably would have like ran out the door. Like, I'm like, I don't want anybody.
So you didn't change your nutrition? You just started riding the bike?
I know there was. Or
was riding the bike helping you control your nutrition, or like moderate like the amount that you would eat in a day, or like? I
honestly can't remember that first summer if I changed too much of the way I was eating as much as I just did the bike riding. But there was a summer where I do have memories of what I would eat at my grandma's house too.
Was that like okay?
Yeah.
Because what comes to mind when you said like you just started riding and then you went 25 to 50 pounds depending on the time, insulin resistance being most prevalent in our legs, and then riding a bike that many miles, you're constantly pushing the glycogen stores and the fat stores in those legs to power that ride, and it makes sense why you're having so much success. But then I'd be curious, I'd be curious of like how it moved to when you started being conscious of what you ate.
Yeah, well, and it's funny too, and I'll tell you how like I started eating too, and like what I know now is just crazy that I had no idea what I was doing then. And I could make a lot of sense out of what was happening then. Now, but at the time, like I only knew what I knew, and like, I only knew like exercise and eat less. I don't think I even cared like whether it was sugar or not. I was just like, I need to stop eating so much.
It was just like a caloric reduction, essentially.
And a lot of that stems from my dad's knowledge. My dad has been like working out and into fitness his whole life, and so I've been around it. But my education was directly from him and all that he learned. And I mean, for a long time, like the people he was following along were like Arnold Schwarzenegger and like bodybuilders, and they didn't really have a grasp on science at that time either.
No.
They experimented a lot and figured out what worked and what didn't, but still wasn't like anything like people talk about today when we talk about nutrition.
When you got up to your highest number, when you were up at like 265, what was your relationship with food like at that point?
Oh, it was... I always knew I was like doing something wrong because I wasn't happy with myself. And for years, like the first memory I have of being concerned about my weight is in 3rd grade. I think it was because like I had a crush on a girl, and I would like compare the way that I looked with other people that were my friends that I thought were like she was gonna like them and not me, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know what gave me the idea of like, being overweight is undesirable, but that like at that age, I don't know, but that's basically a lot of society puts that pressure on people, you know, like it's out there. I just don't know at that time what in 3rd grade what made me sit there like in a mirror and like compare myself.
Especially
like,
when you said your parents were
I have a double chin, he doesn't, or you know. And I like if I look back at me in 3rd grade, I probably was like skinny, like you know, like I probably was just a different body type than the other guy, you know, like, or he was super lanky, you know, like probably underweight at the time. But yeah, that was like my first memory of being overweight. But yeah, I didn't know, like I knew something was wrong. I knew I was gaining too much weight. I knew I was not eating the right way, but I didn't necessarily know the right way to eat.
Yeah.
You know, in 3rd grade?
No, I'm talking back when I was 265.
Back
when I was like 22.
Fish sticks in 3rd grade. Yeah. Those
So, yeah, I knew what was going on. I knew I had to change, but I didn't necessarily know, like, how to do it properly.
Yeah.
Other than just, I knew how to exercise, because my dad has already taught me that. And I'm sure he taught me things about nutrition, but it wasn't like, I don't know, there wasn't like a very just clear way. We both just kind of knew like I had to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after that 50 pounds though, that was strange. I remember one time, specifically the drummer in one of my bands like came up to me because it was the summer still, so like he would see me and then he wouldn't for like a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and then he'd see me again. And I just remember one time he was like, "Hey man, are you eating? Like, do you eat?" You know, and like I felt like so conflicted because like at the on one side of things I was like, okay, I'll take that as a compliment. Like I look smaller, like that's great. Yeah. That's my goal. I want to look smaller. But on the other hand, it's like it was almost like shit. But I still probably have like a lot more weight to lose. Like don't say that. Like that's kind of messing with me a little bit. Like I didn't know how it was messing with me, but it's just a weird for somebody to be like, "Are you eating?" Like I'm doing something wrong. But to me, I felt like I just accomplished something amazing.
Well, were you eating? Or were you, like, really, like, calorically restricting yourself at that time? I
was probably, because I was riding my bike so much, I was probably severely, like, cutting my calories.
Yeah.
But I wasn't necessarily not eating.
Right.
It's not like a bad
I was going to say,
way
would you tell, like, someone else to do what you did knowing it was healthy? Not necessarily knowing it was optimal, but, like, would you call what you did a healthy way of losing weight?
Yes and no. Yes, because I don't think it was obsessive. I think I just loved to ride my bike. Like at the time, if people started asking me like, "What do I do? Like, what did you do?" I would always just say, "Find something that you love." Like I don't like to run. I hate running. I would never have been able to do that if I had to run. And I think that to me, that was my first advice to people was like, if you don't find something that you at least enjoy a little bit, like it's going to be so hard to start that or to stay consistent. Like, so I just loved riding. The eating, again, I can't really remember that summer what I was eating, but I must have been cutting some stuff out, like not eating fried clams every day or, you know.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was my 50 pounds, right? That was my first 50 pounds. And then it got super cold. And I wasn't riding
in Boston?
Yeah.
This is before.
This was now. Yeah, this was before. Yeah, this was 2 or 3 years before still. So I had just gotten back. I just dropped out of Berkeley. It was like 2006. Just dropped out of Berkeley. Just lost 50 pounds. All I was focused on was my band.
Cape, then.
Yeah.
Why did you drop out?
Because I think I realized like I had some self-awareness, if you will, that like I just wanted to be in music school.
Yeah.
Because I thought it would be interesting because I like music, but I also thought it was like safe that I didn't have to worry about going to a different school.
Berkeley, like, was it like, did you have a specific like outcome of why you wanted to go there?
Yeah, but it was made up. It was because I didn't want to say, hey, I just want to play in a band. Like, I don't want to go to.
So you thought you had to go to school to be able to play in a band?
No, I thought I had to go to school, or my parents would think I'm nuts.
Oh, so like you justify, or you chose going to school to justify your parents you playing music.
Yeah, and it's not even really. It wasn't even really my parents, because my parents have never given off that energy like they would ever.
Well, no, it's your perception of that.
It was my perception of what people would think of me.
Yeah,
that you going to Berkeley would justify your desire to play music in and out of wherever it was of school, or
like if I'm gonna be in a band and play music, then I'm gonna like do it in a way that people are like, wow, that's impressive.
I don't know if we've ever talked about that. Like, that's why I was curious.
No, I don't
what was
even
the
know
outcome
if it's
you wanted?
Though. It was literally just like, it's like if you just go start playing in bands, like I'm another person now judging me.
Okay.
This is what I thought people were going to do. It was like, oh, you just left high school, you didn't go to school, you didn't go to college, you didn't get a degree, you just want to play music. Like, what are you doing with your life?
Right.
Like, that's how I thought people were going to judge me. So I figured if I just go to school and I pick a school that's music based, it's going to be interesting, at least somewhat interesting. I don't have to worry about going and taking like math class, you know, and having to put myself through that. But it's not like anybody was judging me. I just figured people would. But when I really like came to terms with that, and then I had joined that band and realized like I'm like actually doing something. Like, people would sit in their rooms and practice and become really good and could read music really well. And I wasn't picking all that stuff up. Like, I would go for guitar lessons, and my coach, my teacher would be like, yeah, like you have a really good feel for the music, and like, and you're doing a good job with everything, but like you just need to like learn more scales or like learn more technique.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I was like, I don't want to be somebody who sits in a room and gets really good at guitar, but doesn't know what it feels like to be up on a stage and have people like looking at you play. We talked about this the other week. Yeah. You know, and then coming up after you and saying like, "Oh, that was amazing!" Like, that feeling like terrifies me as a person that like doesn't like social interaction too much or like shies away from that. But at the same time, it's like I'm actually like doing something.
Yeah.
Like, it just felt good. So when I realized all that, I was like, I don't need this degree. I feel like this degree, if anything, is going to limit my chances of making this a career, playing a band career.
Wow.
You know, I thought it would limit it, you know, and a lot of like John Mayer went to Berkeley. He dropped out of Berkeley, you know, and I knew I didn't have John Mayer's like raw talent or anything like that, but I just was like, you know, music producers and music teachers, and they graduate here. Like, the people who don't graduate are the ones that like got out and made it.
Yeah.
So I thought I was giving myself like a better chance by not being like bogged down by school. And part of it might have been because like I started watching 24. You know 24?
Yeah.
24.
My parents used to love it.
I like skipped a couple exams to watch episodes because it was so good.
You skipped exams to watch 24?
I never watched.
Do you remember that?
No.
It was like a show, and it was an hour-long show, and it would cover like an hour of that day, right? And the season was like 24 episodes, and that was like a whole day. So
like
a season
was just an hour.
Entire
like the
day.
whole episode just took place in a real-time hour.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was like a guy who was, what was he, like an FBI agent or something?
He was a
like that?
counter-terrorist.
Yeah, some kind of
counter-terrorism
like
agency or
government
something.
agent.
I never saw it.
Yeah, it was
Dude,
really
it is
good.
a really good show.
It was really good.
It was a really good show. But like, I started getting like super into it, and I just remember like I was starting to be checked out too. It wasn't like that. That wasn't the reason why I skipped the exam. I was just checked out, and I was like, man, I really want to watch the next episode, and I don't care. I'm probably going to drop out anyway, so I just didn't go. Like, but so we jump back a little bit. But after I lost my 50 pounds, I dropped out of Berkeley. I was back in Boston now, just living in an apartment with my friends. That's where I met Horse and all those bands, and And I just basically stayed like at the weight I was, like and not consciously maintaining or anything. Like I tried to like go to gyms here and there, but I didn't do anything. And somehow I managed to basically, I probably gained like 10 pounds. You know, like over the course of a couple of years.
Yeah.
Were you still riding like regularly?
No, because once like the cold weather hit, I wasn't riding, and then by the time like it got warm again, I was just so involved with all those friends. I was just
you're not
partying.
In school anymore at this point.
Not in school.
So it almost seemed like to me you recognized that going the traditional route was only for people that wanted to teach theory and not participate.
Yeah.
Like not be an artist, but teach art.
Yeah.
You saw it as an opportunity to go and pursue the act of what you wanted to do rather than the route you're on.
Which is interesting.
Limited to just like managing or teaching that concept of action.
Right. Which is interesting though, because I like talking about stuff. I like to teach. I eventually would love to teach things to people, but I also love learning things so much that I would never want to skip that process. So I don't know. I didn't want to like get a degree and then just be a music teacher and not be able to
experience and learn and then be able to teach based on that.
Right. And maybe part of that was like there is that whole like, oh, those who don't do teach type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't necessarily agree with, but I see where like how people look at you a certain way, like, oh, you've never experienced that.
Well, it's like we talked about with the manager of that company, that like just, or like the owner of the company, the sign business, that just like didn't know anything about signs, but like owned it, and like, it was like, oh, so you've never made a sign, you've never learned about signs,
right? So you can't truly interact with your employees.
You're like almost like running like the show, but you don't know the show.
Right. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you're now out of school. You're staying with your friends. You've maintained about 10 pounds, give or take. You're no longer riding, and you're in the band.
In the band, yeah.
And you're doing your thing. How did the decision to like? I mean, there's so many questions I have now, like of like transitioning. It's like, how did you get to like what was it about North Carolina? Like, what opportunity sparked that, or like strength and conditioning? Like because it was like to me it was like a 180. Like it was just like music, and then stopped riding, but then I'm going to go straight into fitness in North Carolina.
Moving away from that group of people was probably one of the hardest things I ever did, or hardest decisions I ever made. And it was for a good reason. Like, it was also like at the same time kind of the easiest decision.
Yeah.
So my brother went to UNC Charlotte, and he ended up liking it here and stuck around and met friends, and one of which is now my brother-in-law. My sister married my brother's friend. But so he basically built a life down here. And at the time, my sister was in New Hampshire going to Keene State, and I was in Boston, and my parents wanted to move out of New York. Like, none of their kids were around.
Yeah.
And they just wanted to be around their kids because, like, all my cousins, like my cousin Rob, Dan, and Mike, and my cousin Mickey and Jamie and Greg, like everybody was like still in New York. So my parents would like be with them and see like all having kids and getting married, and it's like great being around them, but their kids are doing that elsewhere. So like they just really wanted to be with us. So originally the plan was they were going to start looking in the New England area because both Kate, my sister, and me were there, and they were just like.
But your brother moved to North Carolina at this time. Okay.
Yeah, but my sister then wanted to transfer out of Keene. She ended up picking Wingate University, so now she was in North Carolina.
Where is that?
That's it's. Oh, I think Monroe or something.
So it's like Western North Carolina.
It's pretty close to Charlotte. Like in like it's probably like a 30-minute drive from where I was in Concord, which is like a 30-minute drive from Charlotte. It's in the area.
Okay, cool. So nearby your brother.
Yeah, definitely nearby my brother. She actually lived with him and his girlfriend at the time, who's now his wife, I think. Or maybe they were married at the time. I can't remember.
Who knows?
Yeah, but she ended up coming down here. So then my parents were like, all right, well, now we're going to go to North Carolina because that's where the majority of the kids are.
Yeah.
And I wanted nothing to do with North Carolina at the time. Like I was having so much fun in Boston. Like I didn't want to leave. But at the same time, like there were definitely times where I felt like lonely or and I also felt like I wasn't even talking to my brother, like barely on the phone ever, and I hadn't seen him other than like some or most holidays like for 8 years. So I like the moment I decided, and it wasn't like I turned around the next day, like it still took me some time to pry myself away, but I think the moment I decided, it was probably like 2 or 3 in the morning. My sister had already been down there, and she started putting like these videos up on Facebook of just like slideshows of pictures she was taking. And there were just these pictures of her like in the car with my brother and his wife and her now husband, who was just a friend at the time, all just like having fun, and pictures of them out like, at a bar, like Halloween parties and all this. And I was like, holy shit, like they don't even look like brother and sister, they just look like best friends. Like they're just having like a really good time. And I'm like, I'd be leaving these friends, but it's like I'd still have friends.
Like
and
that's
they'd be
my
like
family.
Right, they'd be like my brother and sister, and I could do all the stuff I'm doing here just with them. And I got like super emotional, and that's when I was like, I think I called my parents like the next day. I was like, I think I'm gonna move to North Carolina. So that was like what did it. It was just realizing that like my whole family was now back together, and I was scared of losing friends, but I was like, I could just hang out with them. Which, if they hear this podcast, they're probably gonna be like, well, you never do anything anymore. You just you never come over, or you don't. But
he doesn't even go here.
But yeah, so that was the moment moving to North Carolina. That was also, I used that as an opportunity. I was like, I'm gonna get down there, and my brother at the time had been like mountain biking a lot. He was probably like underweight at that time. My brothers had similar fluctuations in weight to me. His whole life too. At the time, he was just like, he looked a little sick, and he would probably agree with me. But he was just mountain biking like every day, like going nuts with it. And I was like, that was another thing. I was like, oh sweet, I'm gonna like mountain bike with my brother and all that. And my dad they moved down like a few months, 4 or 5 months before me, or maybe only a couple months, but he was riding with my brother, and I just was like, it's gonna be sweet. So I used that as an opportunity too. I was like, all right, I'm gonna start riding again. And I had in my head, I was like, oh, riding, like I'm gonna lose a lot of weight. Like, so I got that kind of back in my head. So I moved down, and that's what I did. Like I didn't even have a job when I moved down. Like I had nothing. Like I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I just was like, I would get up, and me and my brother and my dad would go ride. And at that time, I do specifically remember changing the way I was eating, and it was just strict calories. I still have little memo pads of the food log that I had. It would be like Cheerios, but it was like the serving size of Cheerios.
Like 300 calories of Cheerios.
Yeah, it would be like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but it was like just one with measured out, 32 grams of peanut butter. I think it's 17 grams of jelly. Like
that's what I used to think was like health.
Yeah,
like you just don't eat garbage food.
Right, and
like,
it was
you don't
wheat
eat
bread,
fast food. Yeah, exactly, and like maybe natural peanut butter or maybe Jif. Like who knows? But like that's what I used to think was health. And then like cutting weight is when I would like eat like tuna fish with no mayo and broccoli and like a grapefruit. Like and like that's what I would eat like throughout the day. So that's crazy. Yeah,
and well, what's even more crazy is I probably did that Monday through Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday and Sunday I didn't care what I ate. My brother and sister would come over. We'd get like Italian food. We'd get like pizza, chicken parm with pasta and bread, and I would just smash it all. Like the holidays would come around, I'd eat cookies like I always ate cookies, like just too many of them, and
that's just how I ate all the time. Back then,
just
it was just strict. It was just like every so day, strict.
Just Thursday through Sunday.
It was just so strict for like that block of time, and then I just didn't care. But I was also riding again. I was riding my bike so much, not 30 miles.
Yeah.
But you think about mountain biking,
Were you climbing and stuff too? Like when you're so that's a little different than like 5 miles of climbing is equivalent to like 20 plus miles of just flat riding.
It was like
probably more.
Yeah, it was aggressive, like and you're
building a lot of muscle.
Yeah,
doing that.
Yeah, and still, at that time, I still wasn't doing a lot of weightlifting. Again, like my dad always taught me how to lift weights. I always did like a bodybuilding style of lifting, but like there was, for both of us, really, there was no like getting stronger. Like we knew we were getting stronger, but there was no like, I want to squat 400 pounds.
So how did fitness, because you went to school for strength and conditioning, didn't you?
Yeah, so that came a little bit later. I don't know. I don't know.
Because didn't you actually go to school originally to write?
Yes. So
what?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't know
I'm
that?
so confused by your life right now.
So
like I don't even know how we got here.
Okay,
no.
so
I just learned
so
that
when I got to North Carolina,
ago.
that was like the biggest shift in just what I did in my life. Like I was back to riding my bike and all that, but I also, again, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I wasn't going to join any bands or anything. Like, the music thing was pretty much over.
Were you still playing, though?
I barely even touched my guitar at that time. But I did. So I started reading a lot. And, like, no joke, I read every Twilight book. Because, like, my brother and his wife had just read it, and were like, they're sweet, you should try it. And I read it, and...
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, me too.
I thought they were great. Like,
I thought they were
they
really
actually...
The movies are cool.
Yeah,
no, they're not.
Well, I thought reading the book helped the movies be cooler than they probably would if I didn't read the book. But, well, I want the first one.
The only series I read was
the
Harry Potter, and I never even finished it because when I was out of school, I stopped reading those types of books and just medical books.
Yeah, the movies made Bella seem like super like needy and dependent on like men.
I don't remember. I don't remember the last time I watched a Twilight movie.
Yeah,
like, she was much like sturdier in the and then I think like Kristen Stewart was just like meh like the whole time, and it just like really bothered me. So I just couldn't do the movies.
So you got
the last anything that I had read last was like music textbooks. So like reading, especially such a long, really well done fictional story that I really enjoyed, and I knew I was always like a creative person. Like I always enjoyed doing things creative. I was like, maybe I should write. Like I always was a decent writer. Like in school, I was always a decent writer. So I was like, maybe that's what I could do. I'll go back to school, I'll get my degree, and I'll write. And I did that. I had by that time I had found a job. I'd been doing like graphic design at a sign shop.
So when did graphic design come in? Was it because of the job, or were you doing that as a hobby before?
that I've been doing since I was like 12.
Oh,
like my brother got this program called like Paint Shop Pro.
I remember Paint Shop.
Yeah. It was kind of like Corel Draw, like very similar.
I used to use Paint Shop.
Yeah, so I would make like my logos out of my name, and then like I learned how to code HTML. Like I would just go on a website, you can view the source, and I copy and paste it into Notepad, and I'd change everything to my own, and then re-upload it onto like it was like Tripod or something was like the server.
I used to do that with MySpace. Like I could change the HTML on MySpace.
Yeah.
I remember.
Like I learned how to build websites because at the time there was no CSS, there was no HTML like
coding.
5 or X or whatever. Like there was none of that. It was just
they taught us that.
One thing.
I remember in my junior year of high school,
I took a class
year, it was like
too.
one semester of or not one semester. Yeah, one semester of computer class was HTML coding.
Yeah, I took that class, and I was like the baller who like already knew what he was doing.
Cool.
You know, all like badass, like I don't have to listen to the teacher right now. I already know this.
You want music on your website? I got you.
I could do a scrolling marquee.
Nice.
But so that was always a part of me. So when I was in bands, I was always doing like the graphics, like setting up a website, T-shirts, logos, CD art, like. I was always doing that.
Did you recognize it as a passion or just something you just did? Oh, okay.
And there were plenty of times.
So it was conscious that like you were like in that like wholeheartedly, but like you were pursuing other avenues as like a career. Like what was the thought process on that?
Graphic design?
I did consider graphic design, but I loved music.
Yeah.
It was still a creative outlet.
So music was also passionate about equal or more, or
I was probably more, to be honest with you, like. And even when I think back about it and I like start to miss being on stage and playing music, like it really is something I would love to someday do again, even if it were just like a cover band or something. Like a lot of my buddies
hit up Matthew.
A lot of my buddies are in like a cover band right now, like that played with at the time and been friends with at the time, like they just play like every week, and they have like huge shows.
That's
like
cool.
People love it. They play like just any pop song.
Oh,
like,
really? Yeah. It's just like a random cover band. Not
they're called
like
Pop Disaster, and they'll cover anything for any popular music. Like they play, it's awesome.
Huh?
And they got like a decent fan base. Like people go nuts at their shows and stuff. It's really cool to watch. Like I would love to be in something like that as like a hobby.
Yeah.
You know?
My dad's best friend plays in a band like that, but they do like classic rock covers and like some more updated stuff. So they'll like throw a John Mayer song or like an Ed Sheeran song in there or whatever. But like it's always so fun. We go and like listen to them play, and it's just it's one of my favorite things to do. Like I grew up around a lot of music. Yeah.
That's sweet.
Like even my dad's best friend, his son, I went to college with him, and he would like just sit around and have an acoustic guitar and like learn John Mayer songs and Jack Johnson songs and this and that, and like he played like Stop This Train for his parents at his graduation party, and like people were just like sobbing, like crying, and like so you could pick up an acoustic guitar and like play around the house anytime you want. I think there's like nothing more relaxing than, even if you're like not getting the song right, like just practicing guitar, like there's something about that.
I've
just,
forgotten
like, really
so
soothing.
many songs, but like it's just being able to pick it up and just like mess around.
Yeah.
I like doing that.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So you're reading Twilight, and then you discover this interest for reading and writing.
Yeah, I'm just really
fascinated with this transition.
An outlet of creativity.
Pieces.
Like I had the graphic design job at the sign shop was killing me because that was the guy, and he was asking me to do all this stuff. Like he would ask me to do like free work. Like for him, I was getting paid, but for him, it was like free work for like his kids' school's baseball team.
Yeah,
and like I have deadlines, so it's not just about like I'm doing the work that my boss is telling me to do. I also know like you, buddy, you have customers who have deadlines. I have to get to them. But I was also the only one who knew how to use the printer, the only one who knew how to use Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator. So if I took a day off, all they could do is produce signs that had already been printed or already ready to go. So if I took a week off, I don't even know what they would do. They'd probably have to find someone to come in and like help out or something. So I felt so much stress, like I can't just like be a normal person and go away. And maybe I could, like I don't know, but I just felt
put
like
that on yourself.
Yeah.
And then you were inspired by sexy vampires.
Yes. So I was just like I need. Well, there were other pieces to it. Like I was feeling some pressure that I didn't have a degree. Like people around me would make me feel like I was going the wrong path. But then everybody needs a degree.
You were focused on a degree to please other people primarily, but it was still something that you had a either high interest or slight passion for, though.
That's why I chose. I'll go and just. I'll go in as an English major and I'll figure out how I can write.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was probably setting myself up to be very similar to the music thing. It's like
I was gonna say it's a similar path of like music, school or education wise, so I can play without judgment.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I love that you had all this pressure, but at the same time you didn't just succumb to like, I'll just go get an English degree or I'll go get a psychology degree or like a finance.
School.
Yeah, and like just get it done so people are
business management
happy and I'll just like do music as my hobby. Like I really like that you kind of stuck to your guns as far as like, well, I'm going to do something that I like. Do you think that was like instilled by like your parents growing up, or is that just like something you were stubborn about?
Yes, definitely. No, I think definitely my parents, like I said, they've never ever they've done the opposite of make any of us feel like we were making wrong decisions if it was something that we wanted to do, you know. They were always just like totally supportive in that, and they always said that, and even to this day, like they've never ever made me feel like I was making the wrong decision. I can't even remember a time where I could even sense that they thought I was making a wrong decision and just weren't telling me. Like it wasn't even that, like it wasn't even at that level. So I think I did one semester or maybe 2 semesters.
Where?
At UNC Charlotte. Yeah. I think I did 1 or 2 semesters as an English major. And I did really enjoy it. I had this one English teacher who she at least made me feel like I was pretty good at writing. Like I always thought I was, but like being in college and having a college professor tell me
Like there's potential.
There's potential there. Yeah. Like it was good, but I still was like, and again, maybe this is like outside pressures or what I thought people thought, but like, oh, what am I going to do with an English degree? You know, like,
yeah.
I think somebody probably had said that to me too, like.
Or you like really, heard it in passing, even if it didn't apply to you, and you just kind of internalized it.
Yeah, like what are you going to do with that? Like that's a bullshit degree or something. But I didn't even know an exercise science degree existed. So I think like at one point I just was like, you know what, I'm going to open up this pamphlet and see what they have here. Like I didn't want to go in undecided, I think. So but I knew like I could change if I wanted to. Like I don't have to do that if I don't want to. So I think I just opened it up and I was like reading about things, and I, you know, at the time I was losing my next 50 pounds like through the mountain biking and all that. And actually I think I had lost all the 50 pounds because I went back to school at the smallest I've ever been. And that's where the whole identity thing comes in that I'm sure you want to talk about. But because I had just gone through that, I was like all like jazzed up on exercise, and like I had already started to learn about strength training, and like, oh, I can pursue not just like how I look, but I can pursue like, you know, a 200-pound squat I've never even thought about doing before.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to learn how to bench press like a proper way, and so that got me down this path of like learning about strength training, and so that coupled with just looking through majors and then all of a sudden seeing this phrase exercise science, I was like, what the hell is that?
What is that? Yeah.
And I still don't even think I really knew what it was when I signed up for it, but I think I may told my parents like at one point I'm thinking about changing, and within a day or two I think I was in the office, whatever office, changing my major.
You seem to make a lot of decisions that way. Fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just like, you're just kind of like, yeah, and then you do it. Like, it's just like an executive decision. Like, yeah, it's happening.
I make a lot of decisions quickly, but I also have a lot of patience in my decisions too. Where I'm just kind of like, if I try to control this situation too much, it's going to stress me out. And if it doesn't happen the way that I want it to, it's going to stress me out. So if I'm just like, you know what? Whatever happens is gonna be cool, and I'm just like super laid back about it.
Yeah.
It always ends up turning out fine.
It works out better.
Yeah.
Positive manifestation.
I think it took me a really long time to learn that.
Yeah.
So now we switch to exercise science.
Yeah.
Where UNC Charlotte.
Yeah. You got your degree. Exercise science degree.
Yeah. Did you find out about Athletic Lab and make that transition during getting your degree, or like was that part of like getting your degree, or was that after?
It was after. So you guys know by now, especially you, Josh, you know how like I don't give myself enough credit with a lot of things. Like I'm constantly, if somebody like compliments me, I'm quick to be like, oh no, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Or how many eggs do you want, and how many pieces of bacon? Well, if it's not gonna, how much do you want, Brian?
Yeah. But when I really think about it, like I do like take action for the things that I want. So I was in this exercise science degree, and all of a sudden I hear, I'm thinking like, I want to be a strength and conditioning coach. And all of a sudden I hear UNC Charlotte is getting a football team. And I'm like, all right, like if I want to be in strength and conditioning, like I got to be working with a football team.
Yeah.
So as soon as the field house went up and I knew like there were like people in place, like a staff in place, I emailed the director of operations and I said, hey, like I really want to get involved. Like I'll do whatever you want. I'll clean the gym if you want. Like I'll do whatever you want. I just want to be in the weight room.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear anything back from him. And then like, I don't know, maybe a month or so later, I heard back from him. He's like, hey, just so you know, like we're just in the beginning stages here. Like there's nothing, I can't even offer you anything. Like that's cool that you want to help, but there's nothing to do right now. Coach doesn't want anybody outside of this immediate staff involved with anything. So I was like, okay, whatever. But I was like, okay, I still need to do something. What can I do? Well, all I have to do is pay money to get my USA weightlifting certification. Mm-hmm. And then I have something to put on my resume that's different than just student.
Yeah.
You know? So I went and I got my USA weightlifting certification. And as soon as I did that, I put it on my resume and I sent the director of operations an updated resume. And I just said, hey, I know you can't really like use me right now, but I went out, like I got this weightlifting certification. Again, I just really want to be a part of it when things get up and running. And then I didn't hear anything back for like months, and I was just like, this whole thing's just dead, whatever. Like, how am I going to get involved?
Moving on.
Right. Like, it's a football team. Like, who am I? Like, how the hell am I going to get to be a part of this team? And then just one day out of nowhere, I get an email, and it's the assistant to the director of operations, and he's like, hey, just going through old emails, saw your email, like we can use equipment managers, like I can't get you in the weight room, but are you willing to do that? And I was like, yep, let's do it.
I feel like maybe we should take a slight pause to explain how much bitch work an equipment manager does at a D1 football team.
It is such bitch work, but I was older than it. Like, remember, I'm like 26, 27.
Right.
These equipment managers are like
19.
Yeah. They don't understand necessarily work ethic.
No.
Like, we had one kid come in. I'm like, roll the socks up into balls. Like, go through these random socks, match them, and roll them up into balls. He's like, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know how to do that?
Liar.
He's like, I don't know how to match socks. No, he's like, I don't know how to match socks. I'm like, what do you like? Do you wear socks? He's like, oh, I don't know. My mom just does the laundry and then puts them in my drawer. Like, these were the types of like young kids that were doing this type of job. You know. So
I mean, equipment manager does laundry for the team. They do like sometimes laundry for the athletic training room. Yeah. They like, and it's not like equipment just like, shoulder pads and helmets and stuff like that. It's like footballs and cones and like all the shit that you need for practice. Like, you set up the field for practice and you run around and like shag balls for people and do things and like
get
that.
Screamed at.
Yeah, the whole
shoot
time.
Out the whole. Yeah, we would set up the entire practice field, and then 5 minutes before, the head coach would be like, I want to go on the game field today. Let's practice on the game field today.
Yeah.
So we'd have to run out there and gather all the equipment and move it to the game field, and we couldn't say anything about it.
Nope.
But so I knew I was only there to get to the weight room.
Yeah.
And I was too scared to even walk in that weight room. Like, our strength coach was so intimidating.
Really?
Like, I was so afraid to even talk to the guy. Like, and even knowing him and then like working with him, like, he wasn't as intimidating as he comes across, but he still was a little bit like intimidating and could definitely be kind of like mean at sometimes.
That's our head strength and conditioning coach at UCF. He was also a pastor and would leave Sunday service for the team. And I wasn't religious, but I just like went one day because it was before practice and like watched, and it was like, oh, he's such like a nice, polite man. And then you'd get in the weight room and he'd be screaming at people, like red in the face and shaking them and stuff. And I was like, I'm not sure if I understand football. Yeah. Like, I'm not sure.
Well, I had a lot of pressure on me to like be loud. Otherwise, like, I didn't, like, as an intern, and then I was like a paid intern assistant, like to have authority. Like, I felt like I had to put on that persona, and I did not feel comfortable doing it. Yeah. But I would yell at kids, like scream at kids. I'm like,
could you in their lifts, or like to like do the job?
Their lifts, or like if I was out on the field, they were doing a drill, like
so like kind of like coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Did you go to games?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, strength and conditioning coaches are always on the sidelines at games, and they were like the hype men.
The get back coach.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What would the role be at the game?
Yeah.
Just like hype and motivation at the game, or like what is the strength?
So if you're the head strength coach, your job is to keep the head football coach under control so he doesn't get a penalty from yelling at a ref or like running out on the field or something. If you're the assistant strength and conditioning coach, your job is to do whatever the hell you want. Have fun. Cheer on.
At the game.
Yeah, at the game.
Okay. I didn't know if they were like monitoring play time versus like fatigue.
No, well there are things. in the beginning, like coordinating the warm up. Like different groups go at different times.
They'll make warm-ups and stuff
but
like that.
But if you're this assistant, like the second assistant, you're the get-back coach. And the get-back coach, all you do is you walk down the line, and there's like the out-of-bounds line.
Yeah.
And then there's the line where all the players have to stand back, or they could get a penalty.
And none of them want to stay in that damn box.
None of them
make
want
any
to.
sense.
Like you walk down, and then you turn around, and they're all back in front. So you're constantly just get back. That's why they call it the get back.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. But to get there, that's the point I was trying to make. Is to get there, I was the equipment manager, and I was like, I'm gonna be the best equipment manager they've ever seen, because I have to convince Coach Lambert, he was the head coach. He didn't want interns. Apparently, he didn't want interns around the team. So I didn't even have there wasn't even a spot to get to. I had to create the spot. So I just kept getting it in my boss's ear to put it in Coach Durning, the strength coach's ear, that hey, I got a guy who wants to get in there for his internship for his major.
Which is a little bit of a different way, at least than what I'm used to, because usually like equipment managers are people that like want a coaching
on the field,
job,
and that's how most of them did.
Yeah, and that's like how it usually is. So it's like it's cool that you kind of got to see a lot of different sides.
But I would go out on that field to set up, and I would have the defensive field to set up, and that was where the shed was.
Yeah.
Then the offensive field was like in a different spot, probably like 50, 60 yards away. And there would be two people, one driving a gator, the other one like dropping stuff off on the offensive field, and then just me to set up the defensive field. And I was like, I don't care if nobody can even see me. Every time I get out here, I'm going to set up this field before they're done with their field.
Yeah.
And they have a car, pretty much, you know?
Golf
and I did
steroids.
that. Yeah, and I did that. And I just wanted Coach Lambert to see me as somebody that wasn't just a kid doing whatever, and that he can trust me, and it worked. And he accepted me as like the first intern on the team, and that's how I got in the weight room. And then that was my attitude all through. My boss would test me. I knew he was testing me. He'd be like, we don't need you, like we're pretty much, the groups are done for the day. I don't need you. You're like, you can go home whenever you want. I waited till he left, and I left with the assistant strength coach. So I was working like 80 hours a week, and for no money or anything like that.
Just to prove yourself.
Just to prove myself. I just wanted, if somebody was gonna give me an opportunity, I was like, or not. If somebody was going to give me, if somebody was going to give anybody an opportunity, it was going to be me, because I was going to be the one that was just, everybody knew my face. Everybody knew I was always there, Yeah. And that was just how I saw it. And then I had done my 11-month, paid assistantship or whatever. It wasn't a graduate assistantship. It was just a paid internship. And when I say paid, it was like a very small stipend. And it was only 11 months long. I wanted to stay again because I knew they were moving to the FBS league. And I was like, maybe they're going to add a second assistant and I can get this job. But they were dragging their feet on it, weren't going to add it or whatever. I didn't understand why. There was only 3 of us. Mm-hmm. It was the head strength coach, the assistant strength coach, and me. We had one volunteer internship at the end who was not good. So it was just the 3 of us. Why not add a second job
for 120 people?
Right. Yeah. Plus the baseball team was using the weight room, so the assistant strength coach was the head strength coach for the baseball team. So then I was the assistant for him. There was room for another paid position there. Yeah. So I was just hoping to get it, but it was too close to the end and they weren't going to do it. And then my boss was he was testing me or something. Do you want, where are you applying to? What schools are you applying to? And I would be very laid back and patient about it. I'm not going crazy or whatever. I'm just kind of seeing what's gonna come of this. And he started to almost resent the fact that I wasn't. I think he resented the fact that I wasn't willing to do whatever it takes to have a strength and conditioning job. I kind of saw it as if it works out, it's meant to be. If it doesn't work out, then I'll just do something else. Like, you know, I'm not a 20-year-old kid like coming out of school, and I think he resented that. And his help that he offered me was, I can get you a volunteer internship at Wake Forest.
Ugh.
And I was like, dude, I could get myself an unpaid internship at Wake Forest. Like, literally walk in the door and say, hey, can I volunteer? Like, not many people are going to turn that away.
Exactly.
So, like, you couldn't even give a recommendation and try to get me a graduate assistantship anywhere. Like, you're of no use to me now.
Yeah.
And I think it's because you don't think I'm, like, willing to eat shit enough. Even though, like, to me, this wasn't something that I wanted to pursue so bad, to eat shit. I was done with the eating shit. I wanted to find something that I could do, but I was quickly realizing that field is just not, like, it's an eat shit field.
It really is.
I started getting really into track and field and how to take track and field training and implement it into other sports as a way of training. And just the coaches that I was following, somehow Mike Young's name came up. And I searched him just to learn more. And I found like his slide share, like presentation decks that he stores online. And then I see Athletic Lab, Cary, North Carolina. I'm like, oh shit, where's that? North Carolina. It's 2 hours away. Holy shit. Like, so I drove to Mike. All along my boss was like, where are you applying to? Where? I'm like, it's whatever, don't worry about it. I'm like, it's cool. And I drove to Mike and I talked to him. I was like, hey man, like, I want a job. Like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want a job. He's like, everybody who works here goes through an internship. I can only offer you the internship. I left my resume. Like, by the time I got home, he had emailed me and said, all right, you're accepted in the program. Because it was late. There was like, the program was pretty much filled for that summer.
Yeah.
But I had a strong resume, and that's who he takes. Like, I already had my USAW. I'd already been coaching. Like, so it didn't matter who he already had. Like, I was a good person for him to bring in. Mm-hmm. So that's how I got into Athletic Lab. And I did the same thing there, though. Like, I worked my ass off knowing that I wanted a job there. I didn't ask for a job there. I didn't tell him out in front, like, hey, man. I mean, he knew, like, from the internship, but...
how long are the internships?
Only a few months long.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But, like, I think that kind of, like, passed, and he thought I was just, like, using it then as a stepping stone or whatever. Like, because when I finally said to him, everybody else was, like, asking for recommendations, telling him where they want to go, and I wasn't saying anything, so I pulled him aside one day. I was like, hey, man, just so you know, like, I haven't, like, talked to you about, like, where I'm going next or anything, just because, like, I'm kind of hoping I can work here. Yeah. And he was like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah, that'd be great. It'd be a great fit or whatever. And we're, like, this so-and-so is leaving, and we're probably going to need somebody to pick up hours. So that's how I got the job there. But, you know, I always... when I get something that I want, it's always because I try to make myself, like, not be expendable.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, like, I barely showed him that I can coach. Like, a lot of interns, they get in that situation and they're starting to bark orders like, hey, I can coach. I know how to teach a lift or whatever. I just sat back and I watched and I observed and I would see things like Mike would walk from one end to the other and he'd, like, adjust weights, like, very obsessive compulsive almost. Like, he'd adjust weights or he'd put the clips on a certain post on the weight rack. He'd always organize the foam rollers a certain way. I wasn't worried about, can I show him that I'm coaching? I was like, can I show him that I understand how he runs his business? Yeah. And so I started putting stuff away, how he liked it. And I also, like, I would give him shit. Like, I'd make fun of him. I would, like, bust his balls or whatever.
Yeah.
So I showed him that, like, I could fit in here. Mm-hmm. And he could trust me that, like, he didn't have to be out on the floor cleaning that little shit up because he had somebody there who did.
Who knew.
Now I'm not just a dime a dozen, just anybody who has a coaching education or has some experience coaching. Now I'm somebody that, like, is actually going to help him keep his business intact.
Yeah.
And that's how I approach everything. It's like, how can I be that and not just somebody that you could just turn around and be like, oh, I'll just get somebody else who does the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the best I'm not the best at graphic design. I'm not the best videographer. I'm not that. So what can I bring to it? I have to bring other things that make you not want to just be like, I could just get him because he's better at filming, or he's better at editing, you know, like.
Just put like Brian sauce and all the stuff that you do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the athletic lab, and that's where we.
Yeah, that's where we met.
Yeah.
Which was another moment where I was like, I want something. I have to change things, but you can.
I think it was the summer of 2017. So it was a little over 2 years ago.
Right.
When we first, like, not when we met, but when we started talking. Because I remember I was doing, like, some circuit Matt had me programmed doing by the door in those racks. And you came over to me when I was taking a break or something, and you're like, oh, like, you're into Gary Vee and, like, content? And I was like, yeah. And, like, started just talking about stuff, and that's kind of where that started. And I think it was just like a casual conversation, and we both were like, yeah, anything we can do to help one another, just let us know. Like, that's just what we said to each other. Yeah. And it didn't go anywhere from there. And then I forget what, like, how it came to be after. Like, what was the first, like, action we actually took together?
I probably just made you something like that. That's one thing
the
that
911 spine
like probably just made you a graphic or something. I think. Yeah.
Oh, it was before the 919 spine video because that was like thought out.
Yeah.
I think I probably just made you like a graphic, like a random picture of you with some words on it. It's probably what I did because that's the way that I would do a lot of things. So I would just like make something for somebody, like rather than try to tell you, hey, I can do this, like show you how to do it.
I made this for you.
Right.
Yeah, and then you started helping out with Be the Change stuff with Jackie and I, and then you ended up taking another position somewhere else.
Yeah,
and that's where we.
But that's what I wanted to talk about. Like again, when I want something, like I have to change things and to make it happen. Is like at that time that I met you, coaching wasn't fulfilling me anymore. Like,
how long had you been coaching at Athletic Lab?
At Athletic Lab, I was in my third year.
Yeah.
And so I did about almost 2 years from like intern to whatever till I left at UNC Charlotte. So it was like my 5th year of coaching.
Yeah.
I like coaching. Don't get me wrong. Like, and I really enjoyed coaching, but it didn't fulfill me the same way that like creative stuff did.
Yeah.
And I just started to realize like I redesigned like this whiteboard at UNC Charlotte's weight room. Like my coach wanted this special whiteboard or something. I put like pictures and graphics on it and all this stuff. And then at Athletic Lab, I was like editing photos and doing like t-shirt design and stuff like that. It's like everywhere I go, I made it a point subconsciously. I just love doing it. It's like, hey, I want to help you guys with this stuff.
Yeah, like I'm capable of this.
Right. And then I just realized I was like, when I started to pay attention to like what was happening with and seeing what Gary Vee was saying and stuff, I was like starting to realize there's more of an opportunity for someone like me who I would never consider myself a typical go-getter. Like if I need a job, like my insecurities and fear of judgment, I have trouble just walking into a place and asking to fill out an application because I'm like worried I'm going to walk in and they're going to be like, oh my God, he wants a job and we don't like something about him, so we're not going to give it to him. Mm-hmm. Like that is terrifying to me. So I'm not even the type that like if I need a job, I can just get a job. It takes like time for me to get up just the nerve to put myself in front of people and say like, hey, this is me. Do you accept me? Do you like me? You know? So I don't know where I was going with that.
So when you want something.
Right. So that's kind of stuff has prevented me from doing a lot of stuff, but then I realized like you there's a lot of opportunity out there where you don't have to be that typical model. You just have to get yourself involved in like social media, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I could make this work, but I still had in my mind like I have to just design logos. Like I have to be a graphic designer. My cousin is a graphic designer, and so I remember messaging him. I was like, what do I do? Like, I need a portfolio. Like, I can't get another job if I don't have a portfolio. And he's like, just start designing logos, but, like, they don't have to be jobs. Like, just take other brands, other businesses, and just redesign their logo for your portfolio. Like, it'll give you practice, and then, you know, you could build a portfolio, and it doesn't matter that. And then he was like, and if it's like local things or just make something up, he's like, nobody needs to know that it wasn't an actual paid thing that you did. So I started with Athletic Lab, and I was like, I never was super impressed with the logo. Like I didn't, not that I wasn't impressed. I just thought it could be better, and I always had like other visions for it. So I just started with that, and I just for my own practice, I made that flask
like the beaker.
With the bubbles, that whole thing, and I sent it to Mike afterwards.
A great logo.
Thank you. I sent it to him like just showing him, not like, hey, this should be our logo. I was like, oh, I just made this cool thing. And I remember his text was like, holy shit, I love that. Like, we need to do that. Like, we need to do that now. Like, and it happened so fast.
And now it's like a decal up on the wall.
And now it's like a decal on the wall. It's all over Brazil, Portugal, because they have their coaching thing now expanding throughout the world. And like, he sends me pictures of like a group of like 50 people going through this program, and they all have my logo on their shirt in Brazil. And it's like, it's crazy to me.
That's really neat.
Yeah. And I love that. And I would have that same feeling working at the sign shop, because I would do these designs for companies, and then they'd be put somewhere, and I had no idea. But then I'd be like driving around Charlotte, and one day like I remember seeing a sign that I made like on a storefront, and I was like, holy shit, that's fucking awesome. I'm like,
I did that.
Yeah. So I did that, and like that gave me some confidence, and I was like, oh, maybe I could design logos. So I just started asking people. Like I asked Dr. Matt, but he had already gotten his stuff pretty much done. And then I asked Vivian. She does that the chimney cake food truck. I don't know if you guys know Vivian. She's just another member of the gym, but she was starting like a food truck business. So I did her logo, and so I got a little bit of confidence. But that's when I saw like what you were doing, and I was like, I started to do that for Athletic Lab, because I was like, this is what I want to do, and I can't do it being a coach, but like I can go to Mike and I can say, hey Mike, I think we need this position. So I wrote up this proposal of basically a job description of what the things that I wanted to do that would help build my experience doing this stuff, and I can start getting side jobs. To just, even if it wasn't like leaving Athletic Lab to do this, it was just to be able to be creative again, right? Like I'll just do it on the side. Like I can still coach and whatever, but I needed the experience. So I just, everything I wanted to learn about social media and marketing and whatever, I put in this job description and said, Mike, like, can I do this? And he was like, yeah. And he literally just copy and pasted pretty much all of that into my new contract, and that was my position then.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then when you started coming around, I started seeing the stuff you were doing. I was like, I just need to go up to him and talk to him and say like, hey, I'm into the same stuff, and whatever we can do together, like work together. So that's how that whole thing. But like, so you only saw me coming up to you, but that was like a big shift in my life where it was like, I need to like take serious action to do this. I need to not like hope it comes to me. I need to go up to these people and get a conversation going and letting them know that I can do that stuff.
Yeah.
Because people still, members there had no idea that I was like doing that stuff sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, that's where we go to Athletic Lab.
Yeah.
But, and then you said I moved away. Yeah. So then, out of the blue, I'm walking away from class, and my buddy RJ texted me. He said, the president of my company is calling you. Pick up. I obviously missed the call because I was coaching, but they needed a marketing manager, and he knew that I was trying to find a more creative outlet.
Yeah. And
so I called him, and that was a little bit easier of a decision because I was...
we were in a different state there mentally and physically, and this is where the beginning of this conversation started, and where it gets, I guess, deeper into that. So let's talk about that, because there was a transition there with you personally, mentally, physically, and then you took the change of position and relocated, and then some things have changed since. So
so I had lost all desire to take care of myself. I think I was just so unsure of myself. I was like, here I am in another moment in my life thinking this might not be what I want to do. I'm 31, 32 years old, and this might not be what I want to do. And now I have to start over again.
Yeah.
And I kept looking at it as like, music didn't bring in, the money thing for me at that time was like, I just need money to pay my bills. Like I don't need any extra money or anything. I was just like, I've never had a job where I could pay my bills. Like, and music didn't do it. And then that's when I realized like strength and conditioning wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, now I have to do something else. What if it takes me however long just to make enough money to pay my bills doing this? Like, it was just not a good place to be at mentally. And I hesitate using the word depression, but I remember a friend of mine said something like, described depression in a way that I didn't realize like it could exist that way, but like I didn't necessarily, I wasn't like at home. I couldn't like be at home because I was working like so many hours.
Yeah.
But I just know like I would leave and I would go eat really shitty food. I never wanted to go out, and like I never wanted to do anything social. And I just stopped working out, which was crazy to me because I worked in a gym and and I think people didn't understand that. How could you work at a gym and not want to work out? Like, it's
especially
crazy.
All those meatheads, they were probably just like, why don't you work out? Like everybody there.
Right, yeah.
It's not like crazy.
Yeah, and I got back into kind of like my old ways where I was like, I didn't eat anything. People would be like, I never see you eat, but it would stress me out too because I was like gaining weight there because I wasn't working out and I was eating a lot and bad stuff when I got out of there. So it was always like, people would be like, oh, I never see you eat, but I would be like, what do they think? You know, what are they thinking about me if they're like, I never see you eat, but look at this dude, he's not in great shape.
It's not like he's skinny.
Yeah, you know, like what is, and I would like, again, it's like that insecurity. It's like, what are they thinking of me? Like, what do they really think that I'm not like super skinny because they never see me eat? Like, that should be what they should be like, I never see you eat and you're super skinny. Like, are you actually eating?
Yeah, like what's going on?
Yeah, but it wasn't like that. And I think that was even like more like just feeding it, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just probably the last almost 3 months, maybe, I can't even remember this time, but I just wasn't working out. Like maybe once a week, maybe I would go like 2 or 3 weeks at a time where I wasn't working out at all, and I knew I hated it. So that's why like when I got that job, it was like I had to do it. You know, I had to get out of that situation and pursue this because I was going down a bad path.
Yeah.
And I knew my buddy RJ, who got me the job, he was like my training partner all through UNC Charlotte. Like we worked out every day together. So I knew like I was going to be back in a good environment for that. And I knew like I wasn't going to have the pressure of being a coach.
Yeah.
And having like, I just knew if like I didn't want to squat, I didn't have to have the pressure of like, you're making us squat, but you don't squat. Like, I just wanted to be like someone who could skip leg day, you know? Like, if I wanted to, like, I called it like becoming a civilian again, you know?
There you
go.
Like,
I knew like if I didn't just become like a little bit lighthearted about working out again, I would have never worked out again. Like, so, and what's funny is I ended up, I work out like, well, unless I'm traveling or whatever, but 7 days a week. Like, I'm literally at the gym 7 mornings a week working out, and not like obsessively. Like, I don't lift heavy stuff anymore. Like, I just go in and I just like enjoy my time with RJ. And I separated my goals into 2 parts. I was like, I just need to start working out again. I can't worry about food. That's too much of a challenge for me.
Yeah.
Psychologically, everything. Like, that's too much willpower I need right now. I just need to work out. So I got that under control. And then I got my eating under control after that. So I think from the day I stepped in there, or like got to Charlotte to now, I've probably lost 40 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I had like really gained some weight like right before moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that wasn't a transition back to keto yet. That was just I was just cutting calories.
You lost 40 pounds without transitioning to keto? Oh.
No, like probably 20.
Okay.
So the whole time it's been a total of 40.
But the first like 20, it was just, I was like, I need to stop thinking like an expert, like a coach, like somebody who knows a lot about nutrition. I just need to get back to like the shit that I did in the beginning. Yeah. That was just like, I didn't overthink it. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, I'm just going to write down my calories and not go over 2,000 calories. Just gonna eat under 2,000 calories. My target was like 1,800 calories, and that's all I wanted to do. I didn't care what I ate, whatever. I wasn't like if it's your macros or whatever. Like I just looked at calories, and I lost that weight. But I did get a little bit stagnant. But then I got to the point where I was like, okay, I feel good about where I am right now, and I knew how I felt the first time I did the keto diet, and I was like, I want to be back there again. Like that was the best I've ever felt, because I didn't have the chemical addiction to food. I didn't need willpower to be in that diet. I need willpower to cut my calories but still be eating like cookies and cake and shit like that, you know? So I knew that state that I was in. So I was like, if I can just get myself back on that diet, it would change everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, you guys saw me yesterday, like, bread sitting there, the sweet potatoes sitting there. Like, I cannot not eat that stuff unless I'm adapted in this diet. I cannot. Yeah. Especially with other people around me. Like, if I'm somewhere and my brother decides to start eating cookies or whatever, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna eat them too. Like it's not even a thought. It's just like a switch that flips. I mean that's.
I've noticed that too with my old ways of eating. When I like didn't know anything about fat adaptation, high fat, low carb, like keto, especially like didn't know anything about that. I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna drink soda anymore, and I try not to drink soda. And like I did this January 1st, 2010, and went 5 days when I was doing 2 liter a day of Dr. Pepper. Went 5 days, and I was on a trip, and like one of the dudes was like, oh, like, they found out I used to love Dr. Pepper, and like they went and got some, and I just like back worse than where I started. Like 5 days. Yeah. And then for years after that, it was like, oh, I'm doing good. Oh, you got Oreos? Oh, let me get a sleeve of those.
Like a sleeve of those Oreos.
And then I think it was like 1 year I finally did no soda for a whole year, and then learned about high fat, low carb. Yeah. And now it's easy. It's just like I'll make a choice like, do I want to have some or not? But not like before. It's like I can't not eat all of that. Yeah. Or just like try it, which then I might as well eat it all now.
Well, you see me like I say like I'm afraid. It's not like I don't think I can have that stuff and then not have it, but I'm still in that phase where I'm like afraid. Like what if I do, and then the next time I have it is shorter in between, and the next time, and then I'm back to my old ways. So I'm like, why even test something right now, when I'm fine? Like I don't, and there's stuff like this that I don't have to feel bad. Like I haven't been having sucralose.
That is sugar-free root beer from Virgil's, and what do they use? Monk fruit stevia.
Well, this one's stevia in the bottle, but they're
the canned one stevia blend.
Yeah, okay, and I think erythritol. But I have stuff like this, and I don't have to feel like, because for a while I was eating like diet stuff like that has like sucralose,
aspartame.
Yeah, and my dad is like against that. He'd rather eat real, like just regular sugar than the artificial stuff. And he's like, you don't know what you're putting in your body. Like, I think I would too. And my reaction though was like, yeah, but I always say to him, I'm like, yeah, but you know you're putting something harmful, because we know sugar's harmful. And you're eating that. I just don't know. Like, we don't know. But I don't know if that's like any better or worse. That just was always my answer
doing
back.
Doing something we know is harmful, or doing something we're not sure which one's worse. But let us know, which one do you think is worse?
Right, but now like there's so many things out there that
so many options.
Like in the beginning too, it's like, well, if you eat the sweet stuff, it's only gonna make you want to crave sugar and stuff. But
more of it.
So like you have to get yourself off sweets altogether. But for me now, it's like, well,
it's that dopamine hit.
But if there's sweet stuff that is naturally sweet,
if it's metabolically sound, it allows you to transition with those cravings being fulfilled, but not metabolically harming you.
Right.
Which leads to even more consumption and more out of control.
And the sweet isn't the enemy. It's the chemical addiction type of thing that goes on. So if you can find something that isn't gonna trigger that and make you want the real sugar or whatever, then I don't think sweet is the enemy, you know?
Yeah.
I think you just need to get yourself in a spot where you're happy with that, whatever sweet you can get, you know?
I love what you said about having to, like, essentially get back to your life in stages. Mm-hmm. I think a really big misconception is, especially when people feel blue or they're, like, depressed or feeling really anxious, is that, like, oh, I just have to make, like, all these rapid changes. I need to turn my life around. I need to do this complete 180. And it's like, you just need to start implementing things in your life that are going to make you feel better about yourself. And then every change after that is going to be easier.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that you, like, just started with it, I'm just going to start going to the gym again. I'm not going to do anything crazy. Like, after I was done with Taekwondo and I kind of, like, partied in college and, like, got out of shape, getting back into shape, especially, like in the depths of my disorder, or in the depths of dealing with disordered eating, I had gained, like, 30 more pounds than I already had. I kept just trying to, like, I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm not going to eat these foods. I'm going to do this.
Like, all of it at once.
Right. And it was just like, I'm not going to binge. I'm not going to do that. And it was just so easy to break that it was like, okay, I'm just going to, like, not binge this week. Like, I'm going to, like, eat healthy foods. I'm going to eat whole foods. If I want to have a cookie, like, okay, maybe I'll have one, but, like, I just need to, like, avoid those foods and, like, start with that, because I knew it was, like, a trigger, and, like, I need to, like, find ways to reduce stress in my life. Like, so I started meditating, and I started, like, stretching a little bit, and then I was like, I think I'm ready to exercise, and I, like, went back into exercise, and then it's, like, a whole different mental battle, because I was like, man, I used to be able to squat 200 pounds, and I used to be able to just, like, destroy everything, and now I can't, you know, like, now I just, like, can't do it. So I really like that you said that about baby steps, because I think it's really solid, and I think it's really important.
Yeah, the baby steps thing is like, it goes back to, like, the patience thing that I was saying, is and trying to, like, be laid back about things. Because I so easily overthink things. So easily, or, like, will hesitate to start things because I'm like, well, I'm not doing it the right way, like, because I don't know everything yet, you know, I don't know it. It's like this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, I don't have the right camera yet, or I don't have the right equipment, I don't know how to do this yet, so I'm not even going to start it. And then it's like time goes by and I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
So, like, if I can just teach myself to ease into it and have these, like, little accomplishments along the way and just build my way up there. But like, again, a big part of that was just, like, getting back to what I know works without needing to overthink it, even if I know there's a better way, you know, like, even if I know there's a better way of eating than just lessening the amount of sugar you have, or cookies, or, you know, like, still having cookies, but just not going over a threshold. Like, even if I know that, I at least know, like, that's going to give me some progress, and I can work on that along the way. And that, after losing a lot of weight, and then, like, when you tell your story and people want advice and stuff like that, I always try to emphasize that, like, I'm, like, on the complete opposite spectrum of, you know, 10-minute abs, or, like, lose a ton of weight in 2 weeks. You know, like, I'm totally the opposite.
Long game.
Even the first 50 pounds I lost, I was like, I would always tell myself, I was like 21 or something. I was like, I'm just gonna give myself till 24. Like, how hard is that? If at 24 I'm in shape, like, it's 3 years from now. That seems so easy.
Yeah.
Because then I can fall off for that span in Boston where, like, for a year I wasn't focused on it or whatever, and then I lost another 50 pounds, And it's still, in a couple years, it's still 100 pounds. Like that's
still great.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it's like you're building a foundation. Like you're not just trying to build the whole house without a solid foundation. You're trying to build a foundation.
Right. Well, that's self-awareness.
It's almost like we recognize these things, so we're so conscious of all the things we're doing wrong, and we want to change them all. So it's like we got to do all of them, or like it doesn't matter. It's not gonna but like if you don't have a foundation, it's so easy to have one little offset just be like the make it or break it for like all the effort just being out the window.
Yeah.
So like you guys, or all of us, were able to subconsciously, at the very least, be like, well, let's just do one thing rather than like. And then I just had this conversation with a client the other day. It's like the base of my business is like when coaching. It's like, let's do one thing for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Instead of the rest of your life. Instead of doing full keto for like a year, let's just not consume alcohol for 7 days.
Yeah.
Let's not consume grains for another 7 days.
It's just self-awareness and like manageable steps and not setting yourself up for failure, because I think a lot of people, when they're first on this journey, it's almost like they kind of want to and they're like, oh, it's just too hard. It's just not for me. Like,
it's that built-in self-sabotage, ego, like giving yourself reasons to feel like you're right, that you couldn't do something to succeed. So now it's like, oh, it's okay because I told myself I would just fall off, or like I couldn't do it, and now I'm proving myself right. So that feels good, even though it's not desirable. I have to ride 50
miles a day and eat healthy and do this and give up all these things that I love, and I'm sacrificing so much and I don't have time, and then it just like snowballs out of control.
And how many times have you heard somebody say that you're trying to help, like, or that you've said that to yourself? It's like,
we all have.
I have to do all this. I can't eat this. I can't eat that.
Yeah.
I can't eat that.
Just perspective.
Is this a carb? Is this it's like.
It's like Jackie says, excuses are like belly buttons, and we all have them.
Yeah, we all have them. They don't mean anything.
It's just choices.
I haven't any excuse.
Same. So.
I know there are some specific things now that I kind of got like the story out that you wanted me to.
Well, just because
I think it's really important also to point out that the way Brian was speaking about his eating, like, oh, I didn't eat all day, but I went home and I ate junk food, but it was like away from everybody else. And then like when someone was like, oh, I never see you eat, even though it was like probably not meant as anything negative, there was like all this weird shame and like guilt around just your eating habits. Like they didn't even have to like say anything other than like, you never eat, like where's your lunch? Like, and it was just like them literally probably sitting there eating their food and going, Brian never brings lunch, like what does he do? And then like
mirroring effect kicking in.
Yeah, but like when you're dealing with disordered eating, and it doesn't have to be like the main ones that people talk about, like anorexia, bulimia, like binge eating, or just like anytime that there's like a lot of shame and guilt around eating, like that plays a really big role on your psyche, because you have to do it. Like you have to do it in order to survive and to nourish yourself. And then like being a professional within that world, like understanding the basics of nutrition and like diet and how important it is, it like puts a lot of weird weight on you. So I can totally see like it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, or like one of those wheels that turn, like I don't feel good about myself, so I'm eating crappy food, and then this food and these choices and all this guilt surrounding this is making me feel worse about myself, and it's just like a really harmful place to get in.
Very
the other
much
piece
like
you told me about
addiction.
though, sorry to interrupt, like this was, I just thought of this now. You were telling me how when you were the football team, you had to be like bigger to fit in, and then now you're in this gym setting, you have to be like smaller and fit to fit in.
Athletic
and then at the same time, building off of what Jackie was just explaining, your eating habits weren't allowing you to fit into that avatar you had to play at the gym setting, and so you had all these pieces kind of like coming at you. And I wanted you to talk about that because I remember you sharing that with me a little while ago. I think that's really important, because you were trying to play a role of your projection of like what you had to do based on your environment, not what your inner desires were.
In the weight room with the football team, I mean, I was the shortest thing in the room. I was the smallest, not the smallest person
thing in the room.
I wasn't the smallest person. Like, there were some small dudes on the team actually, but but for the most part, I mean, it's a football team. It's a D1 football team.
Giants.
And like the assistant coach, Donnie, was like this huge former football player, and so I felt tiny amongst them, and I felt like for people to take me serious, I need to like look the part.
Yeah.
So I need like I didn't play football, but I played hockey, and like I could try to be like this big dude.
Yeah.
So I was trying to gain weight, but not like in any kind of smart way, because I didn't have the time to sit there and like do my research or experiment or whatever on how to get big and stay lean. Like I didn't have that time. So I was just like, I just started eating more and like lifting a lot, and I gained a bunch of weight there. And then my next place that I worked was at the athletic lab, and everybody's like tiny and fit and shredded there.
Yeah.
Like the whole staff is like super fit looking.
From Mike's wife to Matt Hunter.
Yeah. I mean, there were some like friendly like joking around about it too. Like I've dealt with that my whole life, whatever. But like whether they were like legitimate about it or not, like especially in my head, I'm like, I'm the fat one on staff. You know, like that's how I felt for 3 years that I was there. And it's not an easy feeling to be on the floor, a full gym, like thinking that about yourself. Yeah. Thinking like I have to be a coach, like I have to teach people things, and I don't even feel like they're looking at me like I know what I'm doing, because I don't look as fit as the next coach, you know? And nobody treated me that way. Like nobody treated me that way. But that's just how I felt, and I've always dealt with it like that, like projection or like thinking people are judging me. So there was all that pressure to lose weight, but I actually gained more weight while I was there, because again, like all the stuff that I was going through, and like stopped working out.
Very destructive relationship with food.
Right.
Very destructive self-image. Mm-hmm. You know, it just kind of fed into each other.
Yeah. Was the transition of going to this new position now with RJ and like just getting your body moving regularly? Like was the environment there? Like they didn't care either way. Like it's just such a variety of people.
Yeah. No. I mean, other than RJ, I mean, nobody was like.
So like all that.
Again, it was like a very. Like I felt like a civilian again.
Yeah.
Like I could go in that, and even if I wasn't the leanest or anything, like I didn't have to worry. Like, do people look at me as a fit person or an unfit person? Like it just wasn't like that. So it just allowed me to get back to what I was used to and loved. I love working out. Like I don't run, or I don't go on the treadmill. I don't even like to warm up anymore.
I don't know why people run.
Yeah, runners are crazy.
Yeah.
I just want to put that on record.
Yeah.
If you run more than a mile or like 5 minutes to warm up, I just don't know.
We don't judge.
Even a step. You're crazy.
I'll judge runners. I tell my coworker like runs like 5Ks and half marathons and stuff, and I'm just like, I just
ran a 5K once and I hated it.
I just don't get it.
I liked why I was doing it. It was a good cause, but
So
you went from
lifting. I love. It'll never be something like I wake up and feel like I have to do.
I never thought I'd enjoy lifting, but I do. It's nice.
And especially now that I'm not lifting to like hit a certain goal on squats or hit a certain, like I competed twice in powerlifting, like trying to increase my total. Like I don't put that pressure on me at all anymore. Mm-hmm. So if I go in and I'm not feeling 100% and like it's not like the best workout, I just know I left and I did it, you know. And that's all I need right now out of that, you know. But so that pressure is off of me.
So you flipped like a 180 from your external and internal environment, leaving athletic lab to this new position, to where you were eating poorly for your health, which I think is a fact that anyone would agree. Like you were poorly eating.
Yep.
You weren't thinking well. You weren't moving in a manner that you enjoyed and that served you well.
Yep.
And then you just stopped all of that over time. New job, new environment externally. Now moving your body, you're enjoying it. Your mentality is shifting, and then you decide to go keto after you had messed with keto years prior.
Was it because of the question that I asked you? I always think about that.
That came after.
Yeah. No. Yes and no. I will say yes and no.
I thought that was like after like a month or two.
No, I don't think he was eating keto, but you guys were talking about working together, and Brian was
because that's the next
about,
piece that Jackie just spilled beans on was what we're doing today. But
we were talking about Brian's like contract and him like working with Josh and stuff, and I was like, is Brian gonna have to do keto? Like,
Yeah,
if he like follows you around and like films everything, I was like, are you going to expect that of him? And Josh was like, no. Well, no. But you can't like eat Taco Bell, like, you know, like around.
Can't
like,
destroy my brand.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can't just like be sitting next to me like shoveling McDonald's in your mouth. And it was just kind of like
that part was serious though. I'm not gonna work with someone that doesn't treat their body well because to me that's but that's different. But it wasn't gonna be like you gotta be keto. It's just like at the very least, I'd rather you not eat processed food, be paleo-ish.
But I just thought it would be so funny.
That was a funny question. Yeah.
So like I was like, because it wouldn't matter either way. But like if Brian's sitting there like munching on sweet potato fries like at KetoCon, like what is that gonna be like, you know?
Right.
And it
was
and I always like then you like showed up like 2 weeks later and you were like, yeah, so I'm keto, and it's just like, oh no.
Well,
Brian, am I the reason why you're keto?
No, it was, well, yes and no. Like I had been wanting to get back into keto for a long time.
Yeah.
And I saw this opportunity as like I should probably, if I'm gonna do it at any time, like it should probably be now.
Yeah.
Because
should we define what this opportunity, this time, like what that is first? Because
let the people wonder.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Leave it up to mystery.
No, but I really do want to say this one thing though, like about my weight loss and what I think is important for people to realize, because there's a lot of quote unquote failure in like weight management or trying to lose weight or starting a diet or whatever. And the times that I've been successful with that has been every single time that I've decided to do it for myself and not for anybody else. So when I was a kid and I was at school for, I don't know, how long is school?
12 years?
No, I mean like a school year. What was it, like 8 months, 10 months?
Yeah, 9.
Well, however long, like that amount of time, like hearing, like being called fat and like being bullied, if you want to call it that, like I mean every day somebody called me fat. And so like when the summer came around, I was like, even at a young age, I knew my dad had a gym in the garage and I knew like I could work out or whatever. So like every summer would roll around and I'd be like, you know what, I'm gonna go home for summer, I'm gonna lose a bunch of weight, I'm gonna come back and they're not gonna be able to call me fat, right? But I never did.
Like, fuck them.
I never did until I was alone on Cape Cod. Nobody was judging. There was nobody around to judge me or anything. And I knew I needed to do this for me. Like I was ready to do this for me, not to prove it to anybody. I just knew it was time to do it. And that's when I was successful. And that's how I've looked at, that's the like perspective I've taken for a lot of things. Like if, again, the pressures, right? The pressures that I've like either people have put on me or I've like thought people were putting on me or like made up in my own head that people were pressuring me to like get a degree and all that stuff. Like the only time I ever like felt successful is when I changed to exercise science, because that's what I wanted to do. And, you know, it became like something that I was pursuing for me and not for anybody else. So when you say that, like I wouldn't have been successful if I was only doing it because like I felt like, oh, she said that and like I have to be keto now, or or like it wasn't like that. I just knew I always wanted to go back into keto, and I knew it was a good opportunity for me to do it, and it just felt like everything was kind of aligned. We're like, okay, this is when I do it. Like, but for me, like this feels right. Yeah, like actually, that might be a good idea. Like, I mean, I do think it would be a problem if like we were at, well, now.
People were eating bread at KetoCon, so I mean, there was Brian would have fit in.
The eating of the bread, keto. Like I don't feel so bad about it anymore. But no, but I would feel like, you know, not even for your sake, for my sake, I'd feel like an imposter if I was.
At least if you didn't even try it, like if you didn't experience what it was, or you know, like how you feel.
But now he's been around the heavy science so much, it's hard to go away from it.
Well, there's just so much.
On top of how you feel.
Well, like what we talked about, like there's so much more information. Like that, like I had that book, the Art and Science book. Like that's all I had, and then Peter Attia. Mm-hmm. And which Peter Attia, I mean, his blog at the time was like filled with science. Yeah, it was either 2011 or 2012.
Because 2013 is when I read Green Brain and first got introduced to what the ketogenic diet was. So.
I just remember at the time, like, Peter Attia, I think, was the only person really using the word ketogenic diet.
Yeah. Everything else is like low carb.
Low carb, high fat, like LCHF, right? Yeah. But they were still obviously talking about ketosis. But yeah, so like there was plenty of science, but it was just so hard to understand. Not that it was hard to understand. Like I understood it because I was good at science and like being in that major. Like I enjoyed learning about that stuff. The problem was there was no like practical way to implement it because
there was no supplements like there are today. There were no products.
Right.
That are,
there was no like
quality, metabolically sound. Like
right.
It was like just do the diet and do your best.
Right. And
it's super complicated to understand right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember feeling like, I still had my sweet stuff or whatever, but I remember the way that I felt. And that's why, like, I would always, since then, I'd always been like, man, if I could just get back there, man, like, I felt like so amazing doing that. Really like, that was the best I've ever felt. And I would tell people that. I'd literally be like, oh, when I did keto, it was like the best I ever felt. And then I'd think, like, well, then why aren't you doing it?
Yeah, why aren't you doing keto?
Like, if that's the best you've ever felt,
because
why don't you want
fries. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. But, so, yeah, I mean, it's... I don't know. I'm lost. I don't know where we were going with that.
Oh, I was talking about like the dramatic shift from one position in a gym, feeling down, eating poorly, not exercising, completely the opposite way at this new position with your friend RJ, and then now transitioning to keto when our conversation of us working together came about.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And
now Brian and Josh work together.
And then that's what we can talk about now is like now
Brian is Josh's media specialist.
Me asking you to leave your job to come work with me. Mm-hmm. And our conversation we had, I went and sat down on the back porch when Jack was still at work, and I was like, hey man, just wanted to like check with you, like I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure this works, but like just wanted to share some feelings of like being really scared to hire on someone,
right,
paying them more than I've ever made, I guess, on a salary basis. Really confident, just want to make sure like that you're in this. Like,
well, I think we both had similar fears. Like, it's also not easy for me to leave
security.
To leave security, and be like, I don't know what, like, you got these things like in the making, and what if they don't go through, or what if they go through and then they fall through, and then like, so I think we both shared a mutual, like is this the right move? Like, should we really be doing this? But like both wanting or knowing we felt feelings of trust, but like. It's definitely not easy to do something like that. I know, like leaving a full-time job that I had been through so many years of like of not getting paid enough to pay my bills and stuff, and I was finally at that point where I felt like, okay, I'm on the right track, and it's like, do I want to almost start over?
Now you're gonna like leave and do something different. Well, I mean, I guess the golden question is, how do you feel?
I met Cornelius today. Yeah. And we were talking about it, and I was like, in what should give me the most stress, I think, like working for myself and having to worry about like surviving and making money and stuff. I'm the least stressed I've been in a long time. Yeah. Like to not have somebody to answer to not be put in a box. If I like, my sister came over the other day and she was like down about some things, and we ended up talking for like 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And I was 2 hours behind, like, but it was fine because I can work whenever I want to, you know, like I can make that up at any time of the day. Yeah. And I get to sit there and talk for 2 hours with my sister. Like I would never, if she called me during the day while I was at work, I wouldn't answer. I wouldn't be able to answer. Yeah. And then like by the time I got home,
she's
she with the kids
fine.
And like, or or like it's fine, or like she's too busy to talk, and like, will we have that opportunity? No. So like, I'm actually less stressed than I've ever been, and I want to say, at least in the moment, like, who knows what's going to happen, and I have to continue to grow and keep making money and things. But I'm, we talked about me like not being able to pay bills. Like, I'm making more than, and this, you're making more than you ever could have even like thought of just a few years ago. You know, and like for both of us though, like we're in the mindset like you turned around and you hired me, and I'll hire Jackie, and like for me, I'm not like looking at, oh, I just made all this money my first couple months, I'm gonna go do what I've always wanted to do with money. Like, I'm thinking of ways that I can spend it on my business, like
reinvesting it.
Right.
And I told you before, it's scary, it's cool, but it's like I could be driving my dream car right now.
Right.
But instead, I put all of that money back into my business.
Right, but it
makes sense for what we're learning and what we're implementing, and that's why we have the opportunity to be doing what we're doing right now, is because we're not only becoming students of those we look up to that are, in our definition of success, living that definition, but we're putting into practice what they're saying with the belief and the work ethic. And I think that's why instantly it made sense. I was like, oh, who do I want to give X amount of thousands of dollars to help me with this? Like, oh, Brian. Yeah. Like, hey, do you want to
Brian,
do you want to do this? Oh, cool, you do? All right, cool. How can we make this work? Right. It was because of what you walk your talk. I think that's a rarity today. I think that's something a lot of people wish they would do, but don't, for whatever circumstance they're in. But you've made hard decisions. We've all made hard decisions to be able to walk our talk, even if that we did slip away for a while. And I don't mean walk your talk just like what you're preaching, but like what you truly feel inside. Because there's been moments where we were living as this avatar and this internal external environment that was not aligned with our true desire, and that it took that to get to where we wanted to go next and led us to where we are today. Right. And I think that's like, there's so many mindset shifts that have been happening throughout your story. And I just think it's awesome. And then that's why also I think we get along so well, is like we were saying before about like, you put the time in for different purposes, not just to do the job and show you can do the job, but like to pick up on things. And what you were talking about, like picking up on like Mike's little quirky things, like I tell people, like, you and Jackie, like even beyond my family, like you and Jackie probably know me better than any single person in this world, because of your one desire to learn things, but then also we just spend so much time together, you know what I mean? So I think that's awesome, or an awesome reason of why I saw value in us working together, was just the way you think and do things, and you're really talented at what you do. So like that's just like proof of like, these things.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So
my takeaway from this was like, it's never too late. Just like go with your gut. Like follow what you want to do, even if you've gone to Berkeley and then worked somewhere else for a long time, and then decided you wanted to be an English major, and then decided you wanted to write. And it seems like you just followed what you actually wanted to do this whole time, and that's a rarity, I think.
Well, part of it too was like just stepping back and being like, okay, what's the common thread there? Yeah. Some kind of creativeness. Like, I was always trying to find that. And I was always, like, worried, like, when I switch things, I'm like, I'm never going to find something I want to do. And, it's like, no, I've been doing something that I want to do. I just haven't done it to the fullest that I could. And now that's what I want to do. Like, so I haven't really been confused all this time. Like, I've been right where I am supposed to be. Yeah. But it's like, all those things have led me to realize that now.
Yeah, so for sure. I think it's interesting to think about, because like in order to manifest the life we want, to become a person that we want to be, we have to start doing what that person in that environment would be doing. Yeah. And you've been doing that, and then I got to a point where it was like, hey, do you really want to do that? Yeah. And that was, based on timing of me doing my own thing to walk in the shoes of who I wanted to become in creating the life I wanted to, and it's just all these pieces is why we're here together. And I think that's something when you can it's easier to do in our shoes now, to reflect on the past and to like maybe make meaning or justify these things to like how it happened today. But it's really important. I think one of the takeaways for this is, like you said, like just doing what you naturally enjoy for yourself, not other people, and taking time to be present in that moment leads to more success than forcing things that you think other people would judge you better for, when in reality it's just going to be for a split second, because once you do quote unquote win their approval, that moment's past and you're living misery trying to prove them right. Now you're like maybe doing the opposite of like proving them right, but you're proving them right indirectly by doing what you love, and it just shows. And there's more. Another theme of this is freedom. Like you sharing that story about your sister, you wouldn't be able to do that working a 9 to 5. That's freedom. Yeah. That's something I can't talk enough about, is like, doing your own thing is stressful. You don't have that security, but it's worth it because you have the freedom to live life on your terms. We schedule our days. We don't have to show up at any certain time. If we commit to something, that's different. Right. But for the majority of the time, we're doing what we want. It's up to us, which is another scary thing. Accountability. Like, it's up to us to create what we want. Yeah. And if we don't do it, we have no one checking in. We just don't get paid. So it's scary, but I think it's fun. Like, I've been on this journey, as you know, like since 17, wanted to be a BMX rider. Like, didn't know it this whole time. So I just enjoy being able to share the journey with you guys. And my perspective is to be able to help people with what I'm learning live their life the way they want and have that freedom. And indirectly it's helping, and it's just a cycle. I think it's rad to be sharing that with you guys, and for you to be sharing your journey of how we met and maybe wouldn't have met if it wasn't for all those different things and changes.
Well, and that's why I always say too, like, I always go back to probably financially the most stressful thing is my student loans that I pay every month because I went to Berkeley. Yeah. And I can go down this. Berkeley off. Yeah, I probably will be for years to come. And I could, when I am feeling stressed out, I could look at that as like I don't even have a degree to show for it. Yeah, exactly. Like, but like, again, I talked about how like that was the best. That set me up with all these lifelong friends. That, you know, like I don't regret that at all.
There's a personal investment rather than a career investment, which is just fine.
Right, and all those pieces led me here, and I couldn't be here without any of that. So, and I think like just if I can give a takeaway, and then maybe we can wrap this up.
But your story.
Yeah, I mean, like my takeaway, like when I look at the things that I've gone through, is I am an insecure person, and I do not take a lot of credit for things, but like being around you guys and everybody that we connect with, like that has already or maybe further along in switching their mindset, it helps me look at things like like I can look at things that I've gone through where I've thought like there's nothing special about them, but pull something from them, like pull that I can then help people with.
There's always something,
like the patience thing, like
you sharing the day you finally shared on Instagram the photo of us that we took at Keto Academy. After I shared about bringing you on, but like you sharing that part of your story, which I'm still waiting for that full article. Just of what you did, you inspired so many people in that because they maybe didn't know that you were doing that or what you were doing. That was really exciting, to them. And that's just you living your life, doing the things you really want to do. It's really amazing when you can sit back and look, hey, I'm doing what I want to do, and that's inspiring these people, which is sad to think about our current society, which is a whole nother rabbit hole we can talk about later on. But like the fact that you're inspiring other people just by being you, the more people can understand that we all have value and we all have, I don't believe any one of us is special. I think it's special to see someone like yourself step into that and own it. Other people take note of that, and then like you're able to inspire so many other people by sharing that and doing that, just by doing what you really want to do rather than what you don't want to do to please other people that may or may not really matter to how you live your life.
Right.
You could have very easily just like gotten an English degree and been like, okay, now I have an English degree, and like done like, or just been like, this isn't logical anymore. I'm going to do this because it's going to make me money, and that's fine. But like instead, you like explored like what was going to be important to you, and I think that that's something that anybody, I think that that's like a huge gray area in today's society, because people are either like, you do what you're passionate about, or you do something that's practical, and like
there's so much pressure on people to do that.
Like
especially
there's like kids, like I'm so proud of one of my students, because you ask her like, well, what do you want to major in? Like, what do you want to do? And she's like, I hate that question. She's like, why do I have to know that now? Yeah. And I'm just like, that's a great answer. Like, you can just say, I don't know, and that's fine. Like, that's really okay, and it can take you however long you want it to figure it out.
That's why I love Mike Rowe, the Dirty Jobs guy. Is he has this whole rant where he talks about, you know, like celebrities that get up on like an award show or whatever, and they're like, see, I'm proof if you just like follow your dreams or follow your passion, you can succeed or whatever. Yeah. And he's like, that's like kind of bullshit. He's like, that's why you get people like on American Idol who everybody tells them, pursue your dreams and you're such a good singer, and then they're not a good singer.
And then they're like, not.
How long do you want them to pursue something that they're just not that good at? Yeah. But he's like it's not that you don't have passion. It's like, so his thing is like, don't follow your passion, bring it with you. Right. Because he's like, he met so many people on that show that they didn't set out to be a septic pump operator, but they love their job. Yeah. And they're succeeding in it because they brought a passion to it, you know, and you know, like, so it's like a mixed message. Like, some people are like, oh, you should follow your dreams. Like, I agree to that at a certain point too, but I think if you just have like passion in what you're doing, your dream will find you, I think, is more what he's getting at, you know? Yeah. And if you don't like it, you move on to something else.
Yeah, just do something different.
But as long as you're passionate everywhere you go, like I was a passionate equipment manager, I was a passionate strength and conditioning coach, and now whatever you want to call me, I'm passionate at this. So like,
you're my friend.
Right, I'm a passionate friend. But that's so I really like that what he said, and so that's how I like to think of it. Is like, I'm bringing a passion with me, and when my dream like finds me, like it's gonna be boom.
Yeah.
I feel like your dream is just the vision for the life you want to live. Like,
just doing what you want to do.
I enjoyed riding BMX, but I didn't know that until I started doing it, and then years later I was like, oh, this is like, I want, like, my dream. This is my vision. Is like, I want to do this for a career. Yeah. And things evolved from that, but now I'm doing other things, and same with you. Like, so I think, to me, like, it's not like follow your dreams. It's like just follow the actions that are aligned with the life you want to live. Exactly how that is, and it's not going to happen overnight, but along the way you're going to try shit, and you're going to enjoy shit, and not, but you're going to learn what you really love to do, and then that's going to become a passion. But I think something too,
learn like, what's important to you in your life, and like find something that fits that encourages and cultivates a life like that, like being around family and having the free time to be able to communicate with people, and like that's important to me too, like having a flexible schedule, and like being able to work, you know, remotely, and being able to travel, and like, so like make your like little list of things that you want to do, and I think you subconsciously did that.
Well, that's what I was gonna get at with my whole takeaway or whatever is that like a lot of times I'll think like I'm not a go-getter or whatever, like, and I actually I've had somebody tell me I'm not a go-getter.
Oh wow.
It was the mom of somebody I was dating, basically told me I'm not a go-getter.
But what they think about themselves.
That mom can suck it.
But when I do like step back and I look, that's what I was trying to get at, is like, I did do that even if I didn't think I was doing that. I was I wanted to move towards something creative, so I created that position. Like, I didn't wait for Mike to say, hey, do you want to do this? I was like, hey, I want to do this, because I knew it was going to take me where I wanted to go. Right. I didn't wait for you to come up to me. Like, I was like, I just got to talk to people that I know can use me. Yeah. I got to go do this, and whatever comes of it, like, we might, like, maybe we never...
I'll say, if you never walked up to me that day and talked to me about content and Gary Vee, this moment, whether it happened or not, if it still happened, you wouldn't have been someone I thought of to go to for that opportunity.
Right, exactly. So like I am taking action along my
That's
path.
That's why I was asking, like, what is a go-getter? Like, to me, it's just someone that like takes action for what they desire.
Yeah.
If the action's aligned, it's not like, oh, I want to be a basketball player, but I'm gonna go, read books. Like, I'm gonna go shoot baskets. Like, you were going, taking actions. Like, I mean, someone says you're not a go-getter, I don't think they really understand. Or they're just, that's a whole other thing.
That's ignorant. They're ignorant.
Either way, I think it's an awesome story. There's a lot of parallels, which I'm finding really is something that is common with the people that we're connecting with ourselves. But that's why we really wanted you to come on and share your journey and share what we've been up to, which we can dive so much more into that at another time. We barely touched the surface of that. Like, I don't think people really understand what we're doing besides some that we've talked to about it. But so what is one last thing that you kind of want to like share for people that are like having difficulties with like their weight, their health, or like their passion for life, whether you believe it, you develop a passion, or you have passion, like you just exercise it, or like just living the life they want and have resistance.
We talk about this in different terms because you have realized this about yourself, and then through all the books and virtual mentors and things that you've surrounded yourself, you've developed a different way to say this than I have. But my version of it is your whole like live the life that you want, or for me it was lying to myself or pretending. I was a sedentary, like, overeating, like, I was not anything that I am now, right? But I really had to pretend or lie to myself or whatever it took for me to be like, I'm just gonna be a gym rat. I'm just gonna be a dude that eats healthy.
Gonna do that,
right? Yeah, and then eventually I just was that.
Yeah.
And I think like too many people don't even try something because they're like, oh, I'm not that type of person. I don't go to the gym. I'm worried, like, if I go in there, I'm not like anybody else in there. They're all like gym people. Like, that's just not me. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's not you. But it doesn't mean it can't be you.
Right.
Yeah. Those people are just there doing it. That's why they're them. Like, just do it. Just like, if you have to lie, you could put it in better terms if you want, like more positive. But if it just comes down to like just get up and lie to yourself,
I think
that you're
like
that type
works.
of person, right?
Well, it's what you tell yourself is good. Like,
right. It's just the changing your thoughts thing, right? It's just like, just tell yourself you're that person enough until you are that person. Yeah. It's like real quick, just a quick analogy of guitar. Like, if anybody's ever tried to learn guitar, like, you struggle and like you can't get the hand positions, you're not putting enough pressure on the strings, and it's like frustrating, you can't get this, and then there's this feeling like a little ways down the road, all of a sudden you're like making that chord, you're hitting that chord, and it's easy, and you don't remember the transition, and you don't remember the moment that it happened, you just all of a sudden are able to play the chord. And to me, it's the same way. It's like, I don't really I remember the before and the after. I don't remember the process of it, but I just know, like, I just told myself, like, I'm just the dude that gets up and rides his bike. Like, that's who I am.
And then you did it, though. Right. That's what's important.
Because I could have looked at him and, like, there are people that are wearing their little spandex and they have their $1,000 bikes and they're out there every day riding bikes. I'm not them. Like, I could have looked at it that way, but I was just like, I'm just going to be this person. Mm-hmm. Because, again, it was for me. I wasn't going home telling anybody, like, look, I'm this bike guy. Yeah. I was just home, like, being to myself, like, dude, I just rode 30 miles on my bike. Like, I've never done anything.
For yourself. You don't need reinforcement from other people or outside sources to feel good about that. You just did it. Yeah. And that's, again, so stop doing shit for other people. Yeah. Not for other, like, I'm totally fine if you want to, like, get healthy so your kids, you're in your kid's life for longer or something like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, as, like,
judgmentally,
like rebuttal, like, or like, like in spite of people, like, don't do it that. Do it for yourself. So that would be my final message.
Yeah. I think that's great.
I think it's a great place to end. Yeah. Maybe we'll have another to our episode. This is our longest episode.
This is a Rogan cast, right?
Yeah.
This is sweet. So to end it, like, my perspective is do things for yourself. Whether you're doing it or not, tell yourself the person you want to become and take action to be in that moment.
Yeah.
And enjoy the journey.
And have patience.
Patience, that's key. That's one of my...
That's the end. That has to be in place. Yeah. Or your little failure, like every small... I think I said this on my last post. Like, every small setback seems giant.
Right.
You know, when you're not having patience.
Yeah.
But if you... when I said, just by 24, if I'm in shape by the time I'm 24, like, that 3 years, any small little thing is like...
Yeah.
Small. It's a small little thing.
Right.
You know, if I was like, I want to lose 20 pounds in a week, if I fall off the rails for a day, like, that's catastrophic to my goal. So
we appreciate your time and you sharing. I appreciate all the things you do for me and with me, and I'm excited to see where our journey takes us. If someone wants to learn more about you, reach out to you, you know, where would that be?
My handle is at Created by Brian with an I, not a Y. At Created by Brian on every platform now. So
nice.
Just search for that.
Awesome.
Uniformity, that, consistency. But if you have made it this far with us, we appreciate you so much. We are so grateful. We know that time is precious, so thank you for giving us some of that throughout your day and listening to Brian's story and to our podcast. I think that's really special. So we appreciate you.
And if you enjoyed this episode, if you took away any bit of value, we'd love to hear from you. So give us a comment, give us a DM, whatever you want. We'd love it if you would rate and review our podcasts. It helps us out, get to more people, change more lives. And if you guys got any critiques as well, let us know. If you like it, you don't like it, if I talk too much or anything like that. It's all love. We appreciate it. And we appreciate your time. And Brian, thanks so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And, this has been the Gray Matters podcast with Brian Guilmette.
And I'm your host, Josh Perry.
And I'm Jackie Lauricella.
And we will talk to you on the next episode.
For sure.